to us, being that person that has that contract with them. So that's kind of how we talk a lot about the coordination, because that's the important piece, but we also have some resources we can offer that they don't know about without that partnership.
Thank you.
I've got some questions. I just want to make sure that the committee. So can you talk a little bit about things that really impact? I think that I know is impactful just because I happen to, coordinate as part of an EOC for the university. So I understand things that when I'm going to like the local emergency planning committee on how, your EMA office actually helps facilitate and gets grants. And can you just give I think it would be helpful for the community to understand, what type of grants and how it really does impact each one of our communities in a positive way. Things like LEPC.
We have the main grants that emergency management has is the Homeland Security grant, and that's also completely different county to county. So some operate differently. Some will actually take the funds and use it for their own department. We have always historically taken it here, and we have meetings with our first responders in the county and find out what the main priorities are. And as a group, we disseminate the money throughout the county. I average about $100,000, give or take. Sometimes it's 70, sometimes it's 115, but it kind of fluctuates in that range. And we push that all out through all of the partners that we have. I have 3 that run at any given moment because they cross over. They go for about 3 years each. So that is pretty time consuming because sometimes it's a lot of smaller projects and there's a lot of documentation when you're spending federal dollars. And there's a lot of logistics with making sure that it actually meets the criteria that the federal government wants us to follow. Then we have the Emergency Management Performance Grant, which is for our program. It used to be a 50% reimbursement rate. It's now just flat funded. We get about $60,000 annually that I have to submit documentation for us to get those. Then we have our LEPC and CERC funding, which supports our Tier 2 facilities in Franklin County, which is our hazardous chemicals, as well as our fire departments for responding to those types of calls. So we get a lot of the training that the fire departments do. That funding comes through my department to fund their trainings, which again, we have to have plans in place and we have to have meetings and there's some requirements in order for us to receive those funds to support their trainings. So those are the 3 main ones that we do every single year.
Can you give us some examples of like what local fire departments or collaborations be, for the, I know this in the past there's been specific amounts for, law enforcement. So I think one year there was, a need for drug testing kit, I believe was one of them. Maybe, if I remember correctly, LAPC, they did a rapid test.
Not through the LEPC, so that would have been the Homeland Security.
It was the Homeland Security.
Yeah, so we've done, we've actually given some of our Homeland Security to school districts for protecting their infrastructure. UMF actually got a locking door so that they can actually flip it from a switch for one of their facilities that they didn't have one for. We did a live finger scan machine at Farmington PD so they can actually scan fingerprints into their database more efficiently. Last year, the year before, no, 23, I think all of our funding went to the CAD system for dispatch and all the first responders, which was about $113,000 we were able to put towards that project. So it definitely goes out to the community and really helps all of our first responders that are trying to make ends meet with what their budgets allow them for.
Very good. Any further on follow-up questions?
I just have one more.
Sure.
Do you have any interaction with FEMA, with the federal emergency management folks? Do they task you at all, or do you give them?
We do in the beginning. So we facilitate a lot if there becomes a disaster. So we do the facilitation between FEMA and the municipalities. Once they get connected and start doing the process, it really becomes just the municipality and FEMA. And then we step back and they kind of do it. We can help. We've stepped in and been able to support the municipalities when they need it. But for the most part, it kind of, we have to step back and then they proceed forward. It's a very lengthy process. So.
Okay. Thank you.
And without doing a NIMS training right now, basically, I think it might be helpful for the committee to understand, the concept of NIMS, meaning that, an emergency operation center typically starts at the smallest unit, and how do you fit into that?
A lot of what we would provide would just be the administrative support. So we usually do a lot of scribing, finding resources. Usually it's not, and we haven't really had a big incident where we had to really activate here. So it's usually kind of different pods of EOCs that are activated, and then we just collaborate together. So like during the flood, like we had, Rangeley had their EOC activated, Farmington had theirs, and we kind of just remotely did it because there wasn't any way to really get together. So I think that's kind of how we've been able to manage, but we haven't actually had this facility to be able to bring everybody together.
But if need be, you would do it
We would
in this
use this.
facility. And I think the last major one was probably the LEAP explosion. Is a good example of where several EOCs was set up through, the towns, and the towns would report through to, there'd be a joint information center, which would go through you, which would go to MEMA. FEMA, on the other hand, FEMA is always willing to give out money, but you have to be careful of FEMA because FEMA doesn't say that it's free money.
Yeah.
They'll oftentimes want to ask, we have this available, but it's not for free unless you know what's free and what's not. And that's why EMA is critically important.
Yeah, during the LEAP explosion, I was actually in the incident command with Jack Peck. And for the entire week, I was his gopher. So I sat there and I scribed all the notes for all the calls that came in, all the information, and then they took them and kept them and used them for part of the investigation.
I don't know what NIMS stands for.
National Incident Management
Management System. So it's basically just a straightforward way that we all train so that we know what to do during an incident, and it's used for all departments. So it makes it easier when you have to work with different agencies. We all have standards.
And it kind of came out of the 9/11. So basically, the University of Maine at Farmington, I'm on their Emergency Operations Center, and I'm the liaison. But if we say we have an incident commander, that means something to Amanda.
Mm.
And if Amanda says there's an incident commander, which is the person that's running the show at that level there, who's the incident commander at the EMA here means something to the federal government, means something to the fire department. It means, it's all common titles, it's all common vernacular terms. So anytimes, I'm sorry, I said NIMS, we try to get away from the acronyms, but that way there, it means something to people that are actually doing something. So I won't dig any deeper. I just wanted to say, thank you very much, very much appreciated, especially, anytime there's anything that comes out that could impact our communities, that, Amanda and her team, whether it's, potential for high wind or an impactful event, I get that notification, immediately, whether it's the National Weather Service or some other thing, that they really help our communities out a lot. So with that, I will, unless there's other questions.
And if you think of anything, just let me know.
Thank you.
Yes.
Question?
Sorry.
We're actually going to deviate from the agenda a little bit,
Okay.
due to people not being able to be here after 4:00. So Deeds is going to go next.
Who's going to go next?
Deeds, Registry of
Okay.
Deeds.
Registry of Deeds. Thank you.
He's on Zoom.
Good afternoon. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Good afternoon.
Okay. You have my presentation there. I don't know if I just wait for questions or from you folks.
Did you want to walk through it, Sue? Can you see it?
I have to turn around.
Okay, well, this is our staff. I think now it's 38 years, and Jess, you've been here 4 years? Almost 4 years now. We do have Marlene come in on when we need her, if we're on vacation or what have you. She, comes in at those times. Okay, we can go to the next one. Basically, our primary functions, we record and preserve all land documents for property located in Franklin County. We create, maintain a searchable index of all property records, provide public access to all land records, and assist the public with basic search for their property. And now that most everything is online, we get really very few people in. So our limitations, which a lot of people don't know, is because we can't provide legal advice, and we cannot create any documents of any kind. I know some towns send people to us thinking we can create documents, but we cannot do that. We can't verify if the authenticity of the document at all, which some people think we can. We do offer deed fraud on our new system that we went with in September. People can sign up for fraud alert by going to that website. So we cannot restrict access to public records, and we cannot conduct research or title searches. Any questions on that?
Yeah, so can you tell, this is Tiff, can you tell us, at least I wasn't aware about, preventing deed fraud. You said go to a website where it's
Yeah, on our IQ, we switched company. Now it's IQS. And I believe it is, if anybody logs on to searchiqs.com/fraud alert, they sign in and it's with an email. So if anything is recorded in their name, they'll get an email. Now, there again, once it's recorded, it's too late. I mean, I can't back it out or anything like that, but at least it gives the person notice within a reasonable time, so they can start the process of, correcting that or, getting help with that.
Is that linked from the county website or yes?
It's on.
It is or isn't, Jeff?
Yeah.
Yes, it is.
Wonderful. Well, that's a new piece of information for me. Thank you.
Yep. And let's see what you. Okay, yes, our ongoing project. We are still, I have a lot of old books up in the attic, which isn't the best place for them, but we've been scanning the old books in. And the little ones I have down here in my office, when they were scanned and put into those books, they just were not good at all. So we actually take the book apart, and we have really good scanners, and we scan them in, save them, so they're coming out wonderful. It's gonna take a while because there's a lot of books, but we have done that, and that's and of course the maps, we haven't worked on it lately, but we're making sure the maps that we have scanned are good and clear as best they can for being old, and we put them in plastic archival sheets to preserve them, and we have drawers downstairs in my vault that we put those in. That does it for the ongoing project.
So may I ask, I know you said there's a lot of books. Do you have just curiosity wise, a rough estimate of, get 10% through the books or 5%?
What do you think? Well, we're up to book 200 and something, and some of the books are tight, and now we don't really know until we, look at them. So it's hard to say. I really don't know, but I'm doing book 0 now because we couldn't do it on our old system because the computer wouldn't recognize 0 as a number. So that's being done. So we'll be up to 200 and some odd, 62 or something like that books that we've done so far.
And I know each book is not the same. So what book number are we on right now for the current day?
Oh, we are on, what's our last book and page, Jess? You have it over there?
Oh, today.
Yeah. 4805, is it?
Yeah.
4805 we're doing now.
Thank you. That gives me, the order of scale of where you're at. Boy, it's
Right.
wonderful. Thank you.
And we did, I don't know if, we went to, we have new recording fees too. I don't know if any of you folks knew that, but in, January, we went up on our recording fees in the sense that we have a flat fee of $40 to record any document, except for the towns in the state, we charge $25. So that just got rid of a lot of mailing back documents because they had the wrong fee, or we charged for marginals and a lot of extra stuff we were charging for, and it was just getting cumbersome. And so we went for a flat fee, and it's working out great.
Nice. Is it okay to ask another question? I should actually make sure that I'm not the only one.
Keep going.
So do you expect, that the flat fee will have an impact on overall revenue generation, or do you think it's going to be just about the same?
Well,
I just don't know yet.
I think we'll see an increase. Now, having said that, we get some pretty long mortgages, which would be more than $40, but it's overall, I think we're going to see an increase.
Thank you. Yeah, and the reason I ask, even if you weren't going to see an increase, sometimes getting rid of these, miscellaneous fees, they
Yeah.
carry an overhead, meaning that there's a lot of people behind the scenes that have to do work for each one of those fees. So if you're getting a dollar fee, but it takes somebody, 10 minutes to process something, then you actually lost money on it. So that's where I was getting at. Think that there's,
Yeah.
even if
I
there
mean, we
was
have, and we have a lot of discharges that come in. Well, we normally were getting 22, we're getting 40 now. So I really think it'll be interesting when all said and done, but I do think it will be, we should show an increase.
Thank you for that.
Yeah. And let's see, what are we at? Challenges. Yeah, I've been emailing Amy. We've been trying to find out if we can have a rolling shelving unit in there that we can bring our books down from the attic. But people just don't seem to get back to us, from the storage, the company that we're in contact with. So that's just sort of on hold right now. The attic, I gotta say, the attic is better since they, went up there and cleared the pigeon stuff all up and cleaned all that up. So we shouldn't be having, any of that going on. But it's just not a good place to store old books, sitting on the floor, or, I do have some on shelves, but so storage is always extra room has always been a problem, at least down the courthouse, and I don't foresee that changing in the near future.
Any questions? Yeah. So do you have anything beyond that?
What's that?
Oh, sorry, I was just looking at the presentation.
Flip back one. On the last item here, under challenges, it says the communities deed fraud becoming an issue, but your current software doesn't have the function for the property alert system. Is there a software that does have that? That we're just not utilizing?
Property alert system?
That's
So your last bullet point,
Your
so
last-
on challenges,
you
just
have
asking about that.
the current software doesn't have it.
Huh?
No, we did not update
The
it.
software program that does.
I only have two. I can't see.
Do they have an old one?
No, I
Yeah,
think I've got the
this
old
looks
one.
like an old
Wait just a
Yeah.
minute, I'm gonna,
PowerPoint. This is it's still referring to the AS400 operating system, which is not your new.
Oh, right here.
So they don't,
Some-
have-
Oh,
they don't have.
that is our most recent one, right? I have that old one. Okay, all right, I have you.
Kind of explain that, they do.
I get that, but it was just the way that that was listed. I'm curious to know what system was out there that actually could detect it.
Okay, well, I
Maybe-
think,
That's the one we did, so they somehow have to.
okay, I think you have the wrong challenges. Cause that was, we changed that, but that's a. Yeah, cause we don't run on the AS400. That's an old one. That was the one before. I don't know how that didn't, the new one didn't get in. But what I have for challenges is on, disregard the one you're looking at. Was the original books, yeah, that's the one right there. Yeah, that's the one. Sorry about that.
No worries. Thank you for clarification. Thank you for asking the question.
I saw it up there and I was like, what?
And I think that's it.
Everybody good?
I have a question.
Yep.
So will you end up scanning just the cloth covered books, or will you end up eventually scanning the plastic bound books as well?
No, we're not, the ones that are in, the plastic ones that are in my office, you mean?
Right.
Yeah, no, those have already been scanned in back during COVID. We scanned all of them in. And now we're going through and realize when we scanned them in, some of them just didn't come out good. So it'll be the majority will be the cloth covered ones. But we will look at them all. And, even if some hand typed, typed ones, we can tweak some. But right now we're focusing on the old cloth handwritten books right now, because those seem to be the worst.
And just for clarification, for those who aren't familiar, when you say you have a typed deed, what you're saying is that someone in your office years ago actually had the original deed in front of them, and then they typed it onto a sheet of paper that went in your system. Is that correct?
That's correct. That's correct.
So when you have a typed deed, an old type deed, it's not actually the deed itself.
No,
It's a typed copy of the deed, which could potentially have errors or
right.
portions that you can't read or something.
Yeah. I know when I came, we typed. I got stuck with a miscellaneous book that, easements and stuff like that had just, terrible amount of words but we would read each one back and check it with the one that we typed. So, but yeah, there could be errors, like anything.
Thanks.
Yep.
Last thing for me, Sue, is that, I should have asked Amanda this, but I know that, Jake presented something here on, what he is putting forward for a budget. I know that we don't get the budget, typically till later on. Is there a set time that is asked for your department or departments to send a budget to the administrator?
I might have I think it's like February 5th, 6th, 7th, I'm thinking. I'm not sure on that. It's earlier than we normally have done. But there is, I'm waiting on particular thing to come, before, and I don't know if I'll have my budget done before then, but will you folks have them when we do them? So you'll be able to look at them?
One can only hope.
Yeah.
Nice.
I don't know. I was just curious because I saw Jake's here. I meant to ask Amanda the question as the first one off the door because Amy's not here. So I figured I'd just ask a department head, when if there was a known date that the budget was being asked of to the county administrator, sometime in February, you think? 5th or
Yeah,
6th?
it's the first, I think it's that first week in. Cause I'm,
Department heads are meeting with the administrator on the 10th, 11th, and the 12th.
Yes.
Okay, great.
to
Thank
vote
you.
their budget.
Yeah, I just saw this here and I saw that Jake's up next, potentially unless we take something out of order.
yeah, so the
But I think-
budgets will be done prior to the 10th.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Other questions from the committee? Sue, thank you so much.
Okay, thank you, and thank you for putting me ahead. I appreciate it.
Are we taking anybody else out of order or?
Probate's gonna go next.
There's no objections. We're gonna take Registry of Probate.
Okay, so, the judge and I thought that a, sort of a bullet, one-page summary might be more palatable than the full-length PowerPoint presentation that we gave to the commissioners before they came into office. So that's what we prepared. It's not that document, but it's 2 pages ahead of that. There's a bulleted list. And do you folks have copies of that?
No. It's not this one, Heidi?
It's that one.
Okay.
Just right here.
The third page, yeah. So, probate court's functions are determined by statute. And we probably get the most foot traffic of any department. I'm sure the sheriff's department interacts with more people just because of their function, but we have a lot of walk-in traffic. And those folks are looking for to probate the estate of a loved one. And that means with a will, without a will, but by the clerks, meaning an informal process or in front of the judge. We have petitions for all those kinds of functions. They're coming to probate to adopt a loved one, whether that be a minor getting adopted or an adult being adopted. We do the name changes for the court system. Those are often folks that have been divorced, that the children have grown and they want to change their name, or they just want to change their name. And then we do a lot of work with guardianships for adults, guardianships, conservatorships for adults, and guardian and conservatorships for minors, more so for adults. So those are your senior citizens in your communities that can't make decisions for themselves anymore, or at least a family member doesn't think they can. And they petition the court. That is a formal process where they have to go in front of the judge, and there's a hearing to decide whether or not somebody else should be making decisions for that adult. So I would say that's probably one of our most important functions, especially in a county with an aging population. And then we do a lot of work with passports. There are other places in Franklin County to get a passport, but there's not that many. Stratton, Livermore Falls, you can get a passport, and I think that's it. Stratton Post Office. So we passports represents about $18,000 in income a year for the county, and we are getting a processing fee and we're getting a photo fee because we now do passport photos. So, and then the rest of the income that we bring to the county, which is about $100,000, it was about $99,000 last year, and was through the filing fees. There was a bill in front of the legislature last year to increase the fees, but it didn't make it through appropriations because it involved increasing the fees for guardianships, which would have been increasing the fees to the Department of Health and Human Services, because oftentimes they have to apply. And so that torpedoed that bill. So hopefully that will be restructured to represent a different distribution of fees so that the state isn't affected and doesn't it allows us to continue with increasing the fees. And not that, yeah, the fees are very low. So, like a petition for adoption, which is a tremendous amount of work for probate staff, is $85. So, that's a very low fee compared to the amount of work that it takes to put an adoption through the system. I'm gonna look at the judge and see if there's anything else we should add. Certainly open questions.
How many employees are in your office?
2.5. So myself, the deputy register of probate, and then the scanning person that's doing the back scanning of our records. So we're in a similar place as deeds, where we have these old records that have not been imported into the software. And so it involves pulling the file, and the documents can vary in size. Some are quite big and they get laid on a flatbed scanner and scanned in. And we're about halfway through our documents. So I would say the prior register of probate and deputy register got about half of those things done from well, I don't really know when they started. But over time, the only way I can tell is from the documents. But the current part-time employee is scanning about 1,000 cases a year. She started January 21 of last year, and she got about 1,000 done last year. So we have about 7,000 left. So, and the files can vary from, a couple of documents to a lot of documents. Usually they're not the volumes of, like, our books are nothing like deeds. We don't have that many that are voluminous. Usually they're under 15 pages, I would guess. And of course, if I can't answer your question, you have a probate expert on your panel that can answer questions.
Other questions? I have a couple questions. So thank you for providing, and I'll make sure that I thought it would be in the packet today, but I'll make sure everybody has it distribute this letter to the committee. So just looking at some of the numbers here, and I'm a numbers person, so I greatly appreciate that you put down 407 passport applications and passport photos. Just for historical context, except for COVID-19 years, which I always say we just forget about that. Is this a pretty typical year, meaning that 407 passport applications, 273 passports, 261 new probates, and 200 hearings? Is that a typical year in general?
I think so.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's all. I didn't know if it's anomalous or it goes up and down in waves.
I think it goes up and down a little bit. I think there have been years since I've been the register that we've done more passports than other years, but I think it all sort of averages out. Our 261 cases is about 25 lower than we've done the last 2 or 3 years. We're usually around the 280s. I don't know why, what the reasoning is, but it's within the realm of pretty standard.
It's not more than like one standard deviation on a bell curve type deal. So that's really what I wanted to ask is, if we were looking at standard deviations, is it outside the norm? And that gives me an idea that you're able to budget fairly consistently on what, the revenue might be, because it's fairly consistent on what's happening with.
Yeah, I think it is.
Okay.
A hearing. Are you open 5 days a week? Is your department open 5 days a week?
Yeah.
So if you have a hearing, is it a whole day affair? Is it a half a day? Could it be an hour, 4 hours?
Yes, and yes.
Yes and yes, okay.
Well, all-day hearings are pretty rare.
Okay.
Usually they are between 1 hour and an hour and a half, I would say. Some can be half a day. Occasionally we'll have an all-day hearing, but a lot of things can be done in an hour or so.
Other questions? Hearing and seeing none. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. You're welcome.
Who's next?
Communication.
We're gonna do dispatch if that's okay. We're just kind of moving around because some people are in other buildings and that way they can go back if they want.
Absolutely.
And continue to work away.
I'm fine with it. As long as the committee's fine with it, I'm fine with us,
Pretty
you
good,
know,
okay.
making the accommodations.
Good afternoon. Thank you all for being here and allowing us to do our presentations. 901 is inherently hard for a lot of the members of the public to understand because they don't use it. Or if they don't use it, they don't understand how it works. There's still people that will think we're in a different state answering their 901 calls. And the state of Maine has 26, I believe, separate PSAPs, which is a public safety answering point. We are the one for Franklin County. Our lines are a little bit skewed, so we're surrounded by 3 other counties. We get calls from Somerset, we get calls from Oxford, we get calls from Androscoggin, and it keeps us busy transferring to and from and getting calls from these other counties too. In the last couple of years, everyone has a mission statement. It's usually, do good things. But in the last couple of years, we really thought about something that represents what a 911 dispatcher does every day. There's a funny story behind this one, but we came up with the letters first, but they weren't in order. My supervisor's here with me today, and I said I can't figure it out. We had all the words to go with it: the empathy, professionalism, integrity, and compassion. But I didn't have it in that order. And he's like, "Hey, what have you ever thought of Epic?" And I'm like, "Oh, yeah, the service that we provide to people is Epic." And that's what we do with every single call, and when we're dealing with all of our responders. In this job, it's, the dispatchers we have next door, we've got 13 total employees over there, including myself and 1 part-timer. On a good day, we've got 3 employees in there working the dispatch, the phones, the radios, and everything in between. Most days it's around 2 people. So this past storm, when everyone else got to stay home and enjoy their blankets, I had 2 or 3 dispatchers in here working the storm. So they're called dispatchers, but what they should really be called is an emergency communication specialist, because they do more than just dispatch. A dispatcher is a good term for a person who works at an oil company and sends trucks to your house to fill up your oil tank. These people over here do much more than just that. They're handling phone calls. They're taking care of people on the phone. They're patient. They're calm. They're helping someone at the worst time of their lives, typically. So they're the central hub of everything emergency in the county. They take the call first before any of the responders know about it. It's coming into a phone into the center here. The dispatchers go through a lot more training now than they ever used to. It's, at least 6 months of on-the-job training, but they're at the academy in Vassalboro. They're at the ESCB in Augusta for at least a week or 2 at a time. This used to be a secretarial type of job, or that's how it was known. It's not like that anymore. It's its own entity, its own career, and it has its very own specialty.
Fred, what's the SCB?
The Emergency Services Communications Bureau. So the 901, the bureau that oversees all the PSAPs, as far as like 901 state equipment and things like that. So what do? Aside from what I already said, they work shifts ranging from, they could work a 6-hour shift or they could work an 18-hour shift. All depends on the day. Most of them are scheduled for 12s to try to get them more days off, more bang for their buck, and more time for work-life balance. There is someone here on nights, holidays, and weekends. They take and process 911 calls, whether they're doing emergency medical dispatch or emergency fire dispatch. Every dispatcher over there holds their Maine EMS license. They can do something as simple as a stub toe call over the phone, or they can deliver a baby over the phone. Narcan delivery for this day and age that we're in with the opioid problem, CPR, compressions over the phone, things like that. They know all their outbound resources. So if we have to call someone like the Forest Service, Lifelight, other agencies, other police departments, other sheriff's offices, we have all the knowledge and numbers and opportunities to reach out when we need to. We're also handling landline business calls from people asking how the roads are, people asking when the parades are going to start. People asking, what week is the fair this year? And those are very, very nice questions. We've had some that you probably couldn't even imagine. While they're doing all that, they're handling inbound radio traffic from our 5 police agencies, our 15 fire agencies, and North Star or Maine Health EMS. They're doing criminal history checks on people. They're creating arrest tracking numbers for the jail, for the deputies or officers that may bring in a prisoner. They're entering missing people. They're entering stolen vehicles, stolen firearms, anything stolen that has a serial number on it, they're entering. And the missing person thing goes into when it turns into the Amber Alert, the state realizes that's okay to do. We have to coordinate with them. They'll put out the Amber Alert or elderly silver alert for the elderly. Starts here, but you have to go to the state level to make that happen. And at the bottom, you can see they maintain their multiple certifications. So EMD, EFD, Metro, which is the teletype system that we use, CPR, Maine EMS, and then on top of that, the yearly mandatory trainings from either Tiffany and HR or just a standard in-house fire extinguisher, bloodborne pathogens, sexual harassment, all that stuff. This is our staff. We have myself, we have 2 supervisors, 2 team leads, and then the dispatchers that you see below. They're all, each side is assigned to a certain supervisor, typically for annual evaluations and coachings and anything that may come up. Here's some fun pictures of all of us. Diane is our longest standing employee. She's been here since about 2010-ish. She still plugs away at the night shift. She loves it. And then we get into the much younger generation. I didn't have a picture of Riker yet, so you get the fun silhouette for him. And the same for our brand new dispatcher as of 2-3 weeks ago, Austin.
Brad, is it okay if I ask a question?
Absolutely.
Just to, it's here. So tell me a little bit about retention wise. Is there, I'm seeing a lot of, like I said, this younger generation. Are you able to retain people? This seems like very highly specialized, a lot of training. And
it's a national problem with dispatch. We, however, in the last 3 years have had a pretty good retention rate. The final position we've had to fill a few times, but people coming in and realizing they don't like night shift or the work's not for them, or they weren't able to get through the trainings. But since Jason and I have come on board, we've had the same original people since we started.
Good.
We lost one because she moved back to Hawaii and another that moved to New Hampshire, but it wasn't anything like local, They weren't looking for another job within the state. Their life experiences took them elsewhere. So yeah, we're pretty proud of our retention rate. Actually, if you were to call Androscoggin today, you wouldn't have the same answer. Or Somerset County. It's always the tail end of the board there that you have to replace. It seems like people, when they realize that this is a career and not just a job, a lot of people will early on say, it's not what I thought it was, and they'll peace out.
Mm-hmm.
But it is a very long-term career now. It's very similar to law enforcement and other public safety aspects. Just as much trauma, just in a different way. They hear things on the phone that nobody should ever hear, just like our deputies see things they should never see. But it's part of, we try to warn them about that when they sign on and say, hey, this isn't a secretarial role. You're going to hear things that you won't forget. I've seen people in my career that have had some very bad reactions to calls that they've taken. We get them help, we can be the peer support team here in Franklin County. That was great. After a certain call, we can encourage them to get up, take a walk. If we have the staffing on, go out, take a walk around the building, things like that. So,
thank you, Brad.
The law enforcement partners, obviously, we have the Sheriff's Office, Farmington, UMF, Wilton, Jay, Rangeley, and Carrabassett Valley. Carrabassett is kind of in their own realm up there, but we still help them out when we can. I won't list all those off, but all the fire service partners that we have within the county, from JL Whip to the Canadian border across to Rangeley. North Star, who's now Maine Health Ambulance. We have 5 bases for them. We're lucky when Farmington has often will have 2 trucks, and the other bases usually have 1 truck. So we don't think about the layout of the county, and that we only have potentially 5 or 6 ambulances covering the whole county. It can get busy pretty quick for those guys. On top of that, they do transfers from anywhere to southern Maine, central Maine, so we're losing an ambulance, you know, for great periods of time, which ends up falling back on dispatch to have to find resources. Other partners, just people we work with every day, EMA, Lifeline, Maine State Police, the Fire Marshal's Office, the Forestry Service, things like that. We have great relationships with all of them. Central Maine Power, utility companies, things like that. For when these storms hit and the wind, the snow, and the trees come down, we have to have those resources. Some things you may already know about the county. We've got 17 towns, 4 plantations, and several other unorganized territories. 1,700 square miles that make up the county include places such as Sugarloaf and Saddleback, portions of the Appalachian Trail, and the University of Maine campus in Farmington. So, and again, this is just kind of a little bit redundant, but we cover police, fire, and medical throughout the county. And we do non-emergency and emergency calls. You go back this one, or did you go forward too far?
I accidentally went back.
Okay, yeah, so go ahead.
It's hard to find good.
So there's different ways to reach 911, and this is the kind of stuff when we go do our community outreach at the fairgrounds or local events. Teaching kids about 911 is hysterical. You hear the funniest stories and questions from the kids. But 911 has typically always been call 911 if you have an emergency. Well, now there's text to 911. So call if you can, text if you can't. The text to 911 still comes to our building. So you're typing back and forth with the dispatcher now versus having to be on the phone. You know, if you're hiding in a closet from a burglar, you can text and be safe and not make all the noises. We get transfers in from, again, the other counties and even other states. We get calls from Canada, transfer down from Northern 911. We've gotten calls from Florida, California, New York, people in Maine that need help in Maine that happen to be out of state, or their phones are internet phones and they didn't switch the address when they snowbirded down south, and then we get those calls. That happens fairly often. And then we have TTY for the deaf community, so we can still communicate with anyone, which I think text is probably going to take over that, but they can still call in and the system itself will break down the codes and turn it into text so we can communicate with them too.
So if I may, I'm really happy to hear about the text 911. I wasn't aware of it, and that's why I think this is great to have these sort of meetings. So is it the ones that you get from Florida and everything else? You said, like, you know, some of them were just a voice over IP type phones, soft phones that basically aren't registered or meet FCC compliance that they're supposed to.
Right.
They're supposed to be able to go to the right location. So the cell phone, is it kind of like a geolocation? If somebody's from out of state and they can geolocate, it will come here, or is it just?
I don't know if we've seen much of that. A lot of that from cell phones has been transfers. But like we've gotten calls that the cell phone's based off whatever tower they're closest to.
Okay.
And we've seen people that have called from far into Androscoggin County that have somehow bounced to here. We don't really have an answer to that.
Okay.
But or even Kennebec County, you know, someone will say we're at Litchfield. I'm like, how did you get Franklin County? Like, we don't. But it works off, you know, the 911 system in Maine has two tandem systems, one in Lewiston, one in Portland. And then all the cell phone towers feed off of those. So it's supposed to triangulate based off that closest tower.
Thank you.
And we believe that there's been issues with that in the past, but it's just either a hiccup or some kind of glitch that nobody ever really knows about. We can report it to the 911 Bureau and they can look into it. It's a lot of data that goes into those calls. So.
Appreciate it. I didn't know the right question to ask, and
no,
the answer was triangulation.
Yeah,
by radio.
Triangulation, GPS, it's all that fun stuff.
Cool, thank you.
Medical emergencies are probably, without a doubt, our busiest portion of what we do over there. And it starts promptly at 6 a.m. People getting out of bed, not feeling well, people falling over. Unfortunately, people passing in the middle of the night and their spouses find them in the morning. We've had two child deliveries. in the last 3 years over the phone. So the dispatcher wins what's called their Stork Award, and it's for walking either an in-home, either a parent or like a doula or in-home nurse, or walking someone through childbirth, up into cutting the umbilical cord and wrapping the baby in blankets. We've seen, heart attacks slow down because of being able to provide aspirin over the phone. A lot of people are like, "Do you want me to take Tylenol?" That's not, obviously these guys are reading directly from a script. So they, if they follow the script that they're trained on, it saves lives. And it's been proven. The stats are huge. Fire emergencies, we're able to talk people out of a sinking vehicle in floodwater, which a lot of people, if you were to go into the floodwater, the first thing you're going to do is panic. Life flight landing zones, tell someone how to help put up a person on fire. Bomb threats, backcountry rescue, and there's many, many more, but those are like the ones that really stand out as far as giving someone instructions. So 911 can be called from any cellular phone, even if it doesn't have service or minutes left on it. So if it's just a phone that has power, it can still call 911. It has to by state law. If we tell, this is kind of like one of the kid slides. I kept it because it makes sense. If you have an emergency but cannot speak, keep the line open because the dispatchers can still work on finding you. Most of the time, they are able to find your location, even if they can't tell us. It's within pretty good coefficient or radius that we can get to. One of the big things I say is most of these 911 dispatchers that everyone's talking to, they might be your next door neighbor. Like these people they're normal everyday human beings coming in to do a job that not many people left want to do. So and here's our contact information. If you want to reach out to me for any further questions, or I'm open for questions here and now.
Can you go over some of the, what you see as challenges? I know what the challenges in the past have been. If there's anything that you can foresee in the past, whether it's, equipment that needs to be replaced, or, is there a tower somewhere that somebody, communication company has walked away from, and you're having, communications, or, the northern part of the county, and, these are past ones I'm giving examples of where, the deputy might not be, able to reach, I know a lot of these have been solved, but I want to know anything that you see, especially from a budgetary perspective, where, you foresee that there's something in the future.
Yeah, I think this is gonna kind of involve Amanda and I both. We do still have radio communication challenges, and it's because of the layout of the county. The radio infrastructure is not brand new by any means, and when you're traveling somewhere where there's vast forests and a lot of miles between you and the tower, you're going to run into that. So that's a goal, I think, of communications and for EMA to find the funding for that. It's not something that's going to be cheap. It's not going to be a $5 fix by any means. A lot of dispatch centers now are working towards going towards digital radio, which is proven to be enhanced communications, but the expense tied to digital radio is not something that anyone wants to see the numbers. I think personally the biggest problem that I see with that is like someone's going to have to die or get hurt to show how important radios are, and that sucks. Responders have a tough enough job as it is, and if they can't reach their lifeline on the radio, that's supposed to be a lifeline. What good are we? So. Aside from that, it's the trauma, the aftermath of handling all these calls that are, these dispatchers getting sworn at, getting yelled at, getting called every name in the book, and they're just trying to do their job. So trauma's become a big priority for us. The rest of it is just kind of monetary. We've got to work through that.
Thank you.
Quick question. At the beginning, when you were talking about the various things that the dispatcher has to field, and you talked about weapons, inputting the information about weapons that the police sees, or criminal records checks, or
Yep.
So is that, are those functions new to dispatch? Did they used to be done through the police department, or?
Yeah, well, I mean, so dispatch, when we became an RCC, took it away from the sheriff's office, but those people, it was still a dispatch center then. So those people in those roles would still do it. But the police officers have never really done that. It's always been a function of either you could have an administrative secretary who could do that. But it's typically always been, in my 20 years, it's always been dispatch. Because it's usually in the moment where it needs to be done. It's not, I mean, a lot of these things, like especially a missing person, has to be entered within 2 hours in the state of Maine. And you know, it's the freshest of the evidence, and if it becomes an Amber Alert, they need that information in the system. So it's, you know, like I said, on top of what they're already doing with the EMD and EFD, they're also inputting data into a national system, so that if this person gets stopped in California in the next 5 days, that's going to come up that they're missing or their car stolen or whatever.
So then you mentioned when they're processing a new person who's just been arrested, they're processing that person in, then they're talking to you to give you all that person's sort of personal data.
Yeah, they do a lot right in the jail as far as like filling out their probable cause affidavits and things like that. But they're calling up for the arrest tracking number, and they need their criminal histories usually, so they know what they can actually charge them with, whether it's a misdemeanor or felony, if they can bail and how much it's going to be. Like a lot of their criminal history relies on their bail. So it all ties in from the time they get arrested till they get to the jail. You know, some of the deputies or officers will call in and ask for that while they're on their way, so it's done when they get there. But it's a process. It's you know, there's really no simple booking process out there. It's time consuming for everybody.
So in the old days, then there would have just been a police dispatcher person.
Yeah, it would have been
in the police department.
Yeah, so I started at JPD back when it used to be its own department.
Yeah.
And I would sit there. I was a single man dispatcher. I didn't have anyone to help me, and I would do all that while answering the phone and while putting in. You know, we didn't have as many officers on the road. Like, you know, today we have 10 officers that we're responsible for on the radio, but that doesn't mean that, you know, Maine Drug Enforcement may call us and ask us for information too, or you know, the CID teams, the detective teams may need something from us, and they come over and get stuff from us throughout the day. So there's a lot of secretarial type stuff, but it's, you know, it's really usually involved in the operations of the day.
Yep. Thank you.
Is that something that you've been doing all along for years or something new?
Yeah, since I started in 2005, it's never changed. We've always done the paperwork or helped with the paperwork and gotten the criminal histories run and all that stuff. We're certified. The school to run all that stuff is a week long. You got to go there for 40 hours to be able to be fully certified in the metro or teletype system.
Oh, one more, just to follow up on that same thing. So the criminal records check, the other stuff other than the questions that you get, do you do that for Farmington or Jay for the local police departments too, or is this unique to the sheriff's office?
No, it's all of them. It's all 5 departments. Again, Carabassett's not overly busy with criminal stuff. It's more preventative stuff up there. But the secretaries that do work, Jay has one, Wilton has one, Farmington has secretaries. They're able to pull that information if they needed to during the day, but they're also preparing cases for prosecution. They're getting stuff ready for the DA's office. So a lot of that stuff does still come back to dispatch regardless.
Pretty integrated system.
Yeah.
Good.
Yeah.
Talking about integrated systems, do all of the Franklin County use the same type of software,
We do.
communications? And stuff?
Yes. Pro Suite for the CAD system, which is what Amanda had mentioned.
Mhm.
The grant was a big help for it. We went live with that back in June of last year, sorry. And everyone's still adjusting to it, but all agencies use the same one. So we share information with, you know, every department. We know what they're doing. And eventually when Andrew Scoggin goes live with it, there's potential that we can have all their information too, so we can cross-search things without having to make phone calls.
Nice.
But there's still some boots on the ground making the system work as good as it should be. So, and Jake's been very helpful with that on the IT side of things. And I think we have a users group meeting that we have quite often about the system as it stands now, to be able to reach out to the company and do good things with it.
I only have one more question, and then I promise I always say I have one more question, but
I don't have a question. I'd just like to say something.
Sure.
I've dealt with Brad and the communications office a lot because of my other jobs and whatever. And I just want to say, I think you and your crew do one heck of a job.
Thank you. I appreciate hearing that. So yeah, it's always good to hear that we're making someone happy. a lot of hands in the pot, but we try to accommodate for each entity and try to make it as personal as we can, but it's only human, so.
Last question I have is that basically is, from a capital perspective, looking at, the next 5 years or so, is there any capital needs that you think that you are?
Yeah, I think I actually missed part of your question earlier. So last year we did secure new furniture. Part of it was through ARPA. Part of it was through some savings that I had in my furniture reserve. It still hasn't been installed yet because of a UPS issue we were having, which should be resolved here in a couple of weeks. And then we can actually set the Monday. And then we can actually set the date for the furniture to be delivered and installed. This will be the first furniture upgrade in 14 years. And that by furniture, I mean our consoles that stand and sit. They have about a 10-year shelf life or 10-year life once they've been installed, and we've had these for 14 or 15. So they're aging. And aside from that, working on radio communications issues with Amanda, fire departments, and people who need to have the input, those tough areas. And in the future, when the time's right, I'd like to see more personnel on the floor. I'd like to have 3 dispatchers on all the time. To include a supervisor, to be able to do their jobs. Because right now my supervisors they can log in out there, but they're in their office trying to catch up on 911 recordings or doing their validation for the teletype system. And they get pulled away from that to go back out and help answer phones, which is part of their job. But sometimes they can't even get their own stuff done because it's a busy day, and they work either 2 days at a time or 3 days at a time. So if it's a busy stretch or a busy storm week, then they're not going to spend much time doing what they need to do. So yeah, that's my hope for the future is radio communications and maybe some additional personnel when the time comes.
I lied. Okay.
Yeah, I know, sorry. So
So
from a call standpoint, are you up this year from last year, down? I mean, do you have a steady number?
I'd say we're pretty similar to last year. We do fluctuate pretty heavily in the wintertime for additional tourists, whether it's ski accidents or snowmobile recreation. And in the summertime, depending on how many concerts Rangeley puts on, we see a big influx of that too. Philip's old home days don't even get started. So no, I think we stay pretty consistent. This is a proud year for us though, because it's the first time since they became an RCC over here that the state has allowed us a 4th 911 position. I started fighting for that in 2022, and we finally just got it this year. So another position for a dispatcher to be able to come in and log in fully and help out. Like if we had another leap issue, God forbid, we could call in 2 more people, and we'd have 2 more positions to actually open up. Prior to that, it was half a position. You could log into the CAD system, but you couldn't really do much else. So it's a big step for us, and I stayed on Maria's nerves at the ESCB for 3 years solid to get that finally going. Yeah.
So it's from a staff standpoint, are you seeing higher overtime, less overtime? You said something earlier about you'd like to see 3, but most times you're only get 2.
Yeah, so through the union this year, it got approved to not necessarily have to fill the 3rd spot if it was if we knew it was a slower day. If it was a busier day, I could opt in to fill that shift and say, yeah, let's call in a 3rd person. May not be for the full 12 hours. It could be for half a day, or it could be for 8 hours, just to get them through the busy times. I would say the thing that's kicked our butts in the recent month or 2 has been the flu and the sickness. And it's been real bad, and those I have to fill. And once someone comes into work and doesn't know they're sick, but they're sick, and we start they're dropping like flies. It's a petri dish. And as clean as we are over there, it doesn't matter. It spreads. So yeah, we've seen a little bit of a drop in overtime this year from past years because it's not contractual anymore. I don't have to offer it out if it's not, if I see fit, whether it's someone might take half a shift off from midnight to 6 a.m. and it's not really necessary to fill that. That's 100% the slowest time of day. You might you could get 10, 15 medical calls overnight, or you could get 1. So that does help us out quite a bit. I don't have the exact numbers now, but I can tell you that since the contract has been signed, we've probably reduced overtime by a decent
We do need to mention though that there is built-in contractual
Correct.
overtime for.
I just hope that
Retirement.
contractual.
Every period, they get 8 hours.
They work a 36-hour
These
week,
are based on
another
40.
48-hour week. So every other week they're getting 8 hours of built-in overtime.
That's contractual.
Contracted, nothing I can do about it.
Thank you, Brad.
Thank you.
Much appreciated.
Thank you very much.
Who's up next?
Okay, I think we're gonna sort of go back to the order. So we're gonna go to the commissioner's office.
All right.
And I'm gonna do that on Amy's behalf as the deputy, so with those slides. Get this set up. All right, so from left to right, there's myself as the HR director and deputy, Amy, next to me, Jamie, who's county administrative assistant, and Mary Richards, who's our part-time clerk. So our primary responsibilities are to oversee the day-to-day operations of the county. That is primarily Amy's job. We assist with that. We develop and present the budget and assist department heads with staying within that budget by keeping them aware of where their spend is. Assist with payroll, accounts payable, receivable, audit processes, and assessments. When the auditors come in, they ask for a lot of documentation. We have to pull a lot of things, scan a lot of things. So this is a pretty heavy involvement. Human resources. I have my own set of slides, but I'm responsible for all county employees from the time that they come on to the time that they decide they want to leave, whether it be retirement or to move on to other options. We do union negotiations every time the contract's up. So we have 3 union contracts. They're offset. The FOP and Teamsters renew on the same year, and then the NCU, which is the jail, separate schedule. We write, publish, and review requests for proposals. So RFPs, bids, we put those out. And as well as any other public notices that need to go out. Jamie is our primary FOA officer for the county, so she does a lot of FOA requests. That's probably a majority of her time, along with doing the agendas and the minutes and all the notifications that go along with that. The website, we manage the website, so anything that needs to be uploaded, as you can see, you can go in and see the minutes, you can see the agendas, there's a lot of materials on there. It's gained a lot of traction within the last year, so a lot of people are really looking at it, which is nice. We prepare the UT budget, field complaints regarding roads. So if they come in, we give that information to the appropriate people. We assist the road supervisor and E911 addressing officer, which will cover the UT separately here in a few minutes. We have grant management. So we have several grants that we are using through the county, as well as a training grant, which is what I manage. And so we get 50% back from all of our trainings. So there's a lot of paperwork that has to go into all of that and a lot of tracking. As you all know, the TIF as well, we help with, we assist Charlie in administrating the TIF, making sure that the projects we have the information we need for projects, what we need for the scholarships, and making sure that we're getting those payments out in a timely manner. And we assist the public with inquiries and complaints, and we redirect them when we need to. Sometimes they'll call, and I think it's a county thing, and they need to talk to municipalities. So we'll direct them, or we'll transfer them, whatever we can do to help them out. Oh, we do abatements too. That is gaining some traction lately. We've been processing a lot of abatements this year. Previously, we normally have one every once in a while, one every year, 1 or 2. Challenges, transitioning to the new EOC, that was a little bit of a challenge because we had a little bit of a homelessness period, but now we're settled in. I think we're got our feet on the ground. I think we're doing really well. In the space, it's really helped us a lot with me personally having the ability to have personnel conversations and things like that without having, being in the courtroom, for instance, because we can have a space. So it's been really nice having this formal space for meetings and things like that. Training has helped us a lot. Rising costs of county operations, everything's going up. We all struggle with the same issues. Roles and responsibilities of county employees. At times, it seems like we're doing a lot of things and they may be outside of our scope, but we're just doing them because they're, asked of us. And so we don't know who else to give them to, so we just do them. So Just understanding where our scope is sometimes is a challenge. Grant management, of course, we have a bunch of grants going, so there's a lot of tracking, there's a lot of moving parts with grant management, so that's a challenge. And, potential changes in software for finance. So there may be a change there. And then Amy's contact information. Down here if you have any questions, try to help.
For a while.
For a little bit, yeah. As you may have heard, I'm leaving the county as of February 13th, so, yeah. So,
Wish you well on your
thank you.
new adventure. Questions from the committee?
There's more to it than the slides, it's kind of a high level view that we handle a lot of things that just come at us and we just help people out, so, that's, the main functions. No question?
I have a question. So there's a fair amount of division for unorganized township responsibilities, and then kind of county, non-unorganized townships, I guess.
Sure.
So in terms of budgeting or allocating funds for that kind of work, is there an allocation? How do you do that? Like, does part of your whoever's doing the budget for the UT, is
Yes.
part of their salary paid from UT funds? I'm just not sure how that works.
Yep, so Jamie and Amy have the third, right? A third of their salary comes from the UT because they're directly involved with that.
Okay.
So we do allocate some towards doing the work of the UT, towards the UT. Did that answer your question?
It does.
Are those the only two positions that have funding from the UT?
Mine might still be a third also, because originally when my job evolved, I was the deputy UT manager because I'm the deputy administrator. The commissioners have recently changed this over this last year. To not have that as part of my title, but I still help with some of that coordination. So we might still be charging a third of that because I am doing some of that work still. But yeah, but Mary's different. Yeah. So Mary, as you all know, we've had lengthy conversations. Mary's our part-time clerk. So we have transferred her to do primarily UT duties, but then we had that gap, right? Where we didn't have anybody in finance and we needed to cover, pay the bills. So during that time, Mary was filling in the interim. So she was being charged. She's essentially under the treasurers. Now, when Karen, our new bookkeeper, gets up to speed, that will change back. But in the interim, there was a little bit of change there as we had that meeting about emergency. We had that emergency because we have to pay the bills and take care of the things when we don't have anybody in that position, and Mary knew all of the things. So it's a kind of a temporary role that she's doing right now, getting Karen up to speed so Karen can function on her own.
Time frame on that?
I think it'll be soon. Karen's very fast. She comes from years and years of AP, and she was familiar with Evolution, which is our payroll software. So she's hit the ground running. So I think it will be pretty soon, very soon.
I know you want in this for a little while ago, you just asked the question on a day-to-day
Took my
basis that, what portion is like deputy administrator and HR director? I'm trying to envision, what the day in the life of Tiffany looks like,
That's going to be covered under my slides. So I have my own presentation.
Okay.
If you want to cover it there.
if you've got it covered underneath your slides, then
Yep. Okay.
I can wait.
Yeah. Anything else?
Other questions? All right.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right, we're moving on to the government overview. So this is so I'm not sure if this has been updated to reflect the organizational chart that the commissioners, okay. The commissioners recently, not too long ago, approved a organizational chart, and I just want to make sure it's in here. So basically, this is just going to go through the hierarchy of the county. Some shaking correctly. Okay, so the voters, and then, oh, we've got the old commissioners, so that's not the updated one. Okay. So we've got the voters, we've got the 5 commissioners, and then we have underneath, so these are all the elected positions. We go to sheriff, the district attorney, and then the chief deputy is appointed under the sheriff, and the assistant district attorney is appointed under the district attorney. And then here we have, again, the voters are up over the Registry of Deeds, the county treasurer, the judge of probate, the register of probate, because they're all elected positions. And then there's the appointed deputy register of deeds and the appointed deputy register of probate. I'm going to show you the hierarchy. So
That's the one that they had changed.
oh, so we've got the county administrator. So beyond the commissioners, below that's county administrator, I'm the deputy and the HR director. And then the department heads are the EMA director, UT road supervisor, the facilities manager, bookkeeper, IT director, administrative assistant, and the part-time clerk. And underneath that, they have people underneath that. Okay, administration. So this is kind of covering, it's kind of a repeat to the commissioner stuff, but I'll go through it real quick. County administrator is the chief administrative official and is responsible for the administration of all departments and offices controlled by the county commissioners. Executes contracts and memorandums on behalf of the county government and develops the county budget proposal annually, which we talked about. Serves as the clerk and purchasing agent for all county departments and offices and all of their duties as prescribed by policy, charter, or statute. This I'm going to cover in my presentation, so we're going to skip over that. County treasurer and finance department. So the county treasurer is an elected position. She's elected every 4 years. We have a new bookkeeper, Karen, right here. Actually, I should introduce her. Where are we going? Going wild with the slides. She works under the treasurer as well as the county administrator. So she has some duties under both. So the treasurer and finance department duties include deposit management of all funds, disbursement of payments for all accounts, collection of taxes from the municipalities, maintains all accounting records in a manner approved by the Department of Audit and Treasurer of State, provides commissioners report on all receipts and payments, and an annual audited accounting report of county finances. Also administers various state and federal grant programs and that's appropriate. Sorry, I'm kind of reading through this because I didn't create this, so I'm just kind of going through the whole thing. District attorney, we have a presentation for that, so we're going to skip over that. Probate, we've already reviewed probate, so we can skip that. Deeds as well. These are kind of high level views. Sheriff's got his own presentation. So when we had done this, we kind of covered everything with the commissioners to kind of give them an idea of where everybody was, but you know, departments are presenting on an individual basis, and I'd rather have their information than what we may have. So IT, again, EMA, UT, I have a set of slides, so we'll skip over as well, but you do have the presentation if you want to look it over and compare notes. So, do you have any questions? I went through that pretty quick. Is there anything you wanted to read that I didn't go over? Because I have a UT presentation, I have an HR. Yeah, I have a treasurer's presentation, so I figured I would dive into those.
Part of your HR presentation, does that also include the answer to my other question, which is, you know, the day in the life of, you know?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
I just want to make sure.
The whole employee life cycle and have all kinds of fun.
All right, that sounds great. Thank you.
Yeah.
Insurance.
Yeah. All right, first we're going to go over responsibilities and duties. So as I kind of said already, is HR is involved in the employee's entire life cycle. So from recruitment to, you know, offboarding, they terminate because they retire or they leave for other opportunities, wherever the case may be. So, well, I kind of broke it down high level so that we can understand all of the different parts of the life cycle of an employee. Okay. So recruitment, the first thing we do is create job ads. We post them. I give them to Jamie. Jamie will put them out there. Then they have to be monitored on job boards. Applications are collected and then they're reviewed with the department head that's involved in the hiring process. We have to set up interviews once we pick the candidates that we want to move forward with, and we usually pick a panel that involves the commissioner whenever we can, so that they're involved actively in the process. They understand how we're screening employees and that we're vetting them the best possible way. Once we decide who we would like to select out of that pool of employees, we send them what's called a conditional offer. So they review the conditional offer. It has their pay, their benefits, you know, who they're going to be working under, all that information. They sign that, they give it back to me. We then give them a background form. So they fill out a background form, they give that back to me, then we run a background check. Provided they don't have any recent criminal activity, criminal history, then we move forward with the hiring process. So we bring it to the commissioners. If it's an open position, we just bring it through the county administrator's reports. We don't have to wait on hiring. So we just bring it to them. You know, sometimes it might be that they come on that week that we have a commissioner meeting. We say, we filled this position and this is who we filled it with, and they authorize that, okay? Then you begin the orientation process. So I schedule orientation on a Monday. They come in, the employees sit down with me, they do all the onboarding paperwork. We go through all the benefits. We talk about policies. We go through any training such as harassment, ergonomics, hazard communication training, all of those required trainings mandated by the DOL, okay? All of that paper then has to go somewhere, it has to be processed. So I put them through our Evolution, which is our onboarding system, which creates a profile for them. It puts in their deductions, their check information, all of that stuff. So there's a lot of input once they're onboarded.
Do you mind if I ask questions during your presentation, or just wait till the end?
Sure,
So
absolutely.
when it comes to the mandatory training, is that you going over them for the mandatory training? Or do you have a semi-automated or a system that they get through the training, you're pointing them towards the training, and then they take a test?
No, so what they have for training is we have, so harassment, for instance, we have to have a policy in place.
Mhm.
They have to review that policy and acknowledge it. The DOL also has requirements they have examples that they provide, and they have their own requirements that have to be reviewed with the employee, but it's all on paper. So they read through all of this documentation and they acknowledge it. So with ergonomics, SafetyWorks, I don't know if any of you are familiar with SafetyWorks, they provide all of that luckily to us. We tried doing the online stuff. People weren't a big fan of it, so we've moved away from that. We've done a mix of it to try and see what works for people, but so far, an acknowledgement in paper, they sit there and read through it, they're satisfied with that. So that's the easiest way during the onboarding process, is to give them that packet and sit with them and go over all of that, make sure they understand it, and then they sign off and acknowledge that they have read and understand it. Does that make sense?
It does.
Okay.
Thank you.
Any other questions about onboarding? Okay.
I'll sit.
So once they're hired, if they get injured, or if they get injured at all, so this could be anything from I pinched my hand in the bathroom door to I got into a physical altercation with someone while on patrol and I am now on restriction. So anything in between. It all has to be reported. So we fill out a form called the first report of injuries. We have to report it to MMA. That's how their workers' compensation carrier. So all of that stuff has to be tracked. I have to keep track of if there is a workers' comp. I have to do the follow-up, make sure the physician stuff that we need is, we have all their restrictions, all their follow-up appointments. There's constant communication between workers' comp, the provider, and myself during these processes when they come up. Talk a little bit about the safety when we get there, about what we've had for safety issues and things like that when we get further in. But so anything related to workplace related injuries and prevention, right? So we notice that there's a way that we can prevent it from happening again. We put in measures with working with the department head so that it doesn't. Unemployment claims, people leave, they come and they go, and there are unemployment claims, and we are self-insured. So when these unemployment claims come up and there is reason to believe that they should not be entitled to the benefit, then I will attend hearings on these, and I will go and testify to say, you know, this is why this person was let go, or this is why this person left, which reduces the liability on the county. Because if I just let them all go through, then you're paying, right? Because we're self-insured. So that's important. That's an important role. Those unemployment claims are not, I don't get a lot of them, but they do come in. And when they do, I review them carefully to make sure, you know, if I need to be present for some sort of appeal, that I am. Any questions so far? Okay. Compensation, as you know, we work diligently on the structure and we continue to evolve in that area, but also really my role in that is to make sure that we're, you know, following fair practice, right? We're following the law when it comes to, we're not just favoring a position or a person when we're making decisions about this, so that we don't enter into a liability situation where somebody could say, you're paying me unfairly, and it becomes human rights or something that, you know, ends in a legal battle. So that's my role in terms of the compensation. Also, I assist with trying to figure out the fair labor market, right? So the neighboring counties, the neighboring municipalities, collecting the information, reaching out and getting that so that we can do some comparison when we're looking at those. So that's kind of my role in compensation. Benefits. So as you know, we have open enrollment every year, and we have started doing a benefits fair so that vendors are coming in now that we have a space. It's a main thing. We're doing benefits fairs so that we bring the vendors in. So I coordinate that so that staff can come in and talk to Maine PERS. They can come in and talk to the health trust about their medical benefits and what's covered and what's not, so that when they're making their decisions during open enrollment, they can make the best decision for them and their family, right? So when there are changes throughout the year, people have life events, I have to submit paperwork, I have to adjust deductions based on what they may or may not be paying for these benefits that they add or drop. So it's fluid through the year. So next slide. Employee relations, as you know, that's the big part. That's where people think HR is, right? It's all things coaching, discipline, union related matters. So I help the department heads navigate tricky situations. I have conversations that can be sensitive, delicate conversations. I provide a space where employees can feel comfortable with sharing things that don't necessarily need to be, you know, brought out into everybody's audience, the general audience, so they feel like they can talk to me and get some advice about certain things. So I provide that space. My door is always open for anyone to come in. The department heads come in oftentimes to help them out with things. Union related matters, so facilitating discussions, union contract negotiations, grievances and arbitration. Those are big ones. We don't have a lot of grievances, but right now we have a couple of arbitrations in process. So yeah, and trying to facilitate a working relationship between the county and the unions so that we can work together and not be, you know, see each other as, you know, I lack of a better word. Yeah, I can't think of the word I want to use, but try to facilitate good working relationships. Compliance. Compliance is big. So when I started here, files were not organized. I-9s were way out of compliance. We had no HR, right? When I came on, there was no HR. So there was nobody really overseeing all of this stuff that you've got to be in compliance with. Had we been audited back then, it could have been disastrous because there were no processes in place and nobody was really keeping track of the laws. And the laws are always changing with employment. So it's my job to make sure the I-9s are properly documented. We have documentation that says that these employees are legally able and allowed to work in the United States. We have to make sure that our health and our medical files are completely separate. Background checks, again, completely separate. So there's a lot of compliance. There's record retention. A lot of that stuff falls under the compliance. And safety, you know, making sure that we're a safe working environment. HR policy development. So I've created, I couldn't tell you how many policies since I've been here. Those are also very important as things change, you know, case law comes up and you realize, yeah, we probably should have that policy in place in case, you know, we don't want to wait until it happens, right? We want to be proactive. And so if we know something, it's better to put some kind of policy in place so that the employees have a clear understanding as well as administration. So, and then of course, I did not list it on there, but there's the termination, right? People retiring, moving on for other opportunities, and there's offboarding. So a lot goes on with that. Like onboarding, you have to offboard. So you have to stop all of the deductions, you have to send out the appropriate notifications, the forms, and all of that stuff that goes with it. So I know it's a lot, but that's kind of my role in a nutshell. Is that what you wanted to know, Tiffany, or is there more?
Well, I think I've got for myself, I've got the HR role understood at this point
Okay.
here. I'm trying to understand the other half being deputy administrator, because when I think of the administrator, and I know it's not a fair comparison, so that's why we're here talking. So when I think of like the county administrator, I think of my town manager. So then when you know, you have an HR person, I've got an HR person, but I don't have a deputy town manager. So I'm trying to understand the role of, you know, day to life of, okay, HR seems clear to me. So what is the role as deputy administrator?
So basically, I am the county administrator when the county administrator is not here or is, you know, unavailable for a variety of reasons. I don't fill that role unless she's unavailable. So I have to be in the know of what's going on, obviously, because I have to be able to make decisions on her behalf when she's not here as deputy county administrator. But I only act in that role when there's an absence in that role, if that makes sense. But I am in the know of all of what's going on in terms of her world and what's going on. So does that make sense?
It does. That's my question.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So everything encompassing of her role, I do in the absence of her. But otherwise, my primary function is HR.
Thank you.
Yep. All right, so how does HR aid in fiscal responsibility and risk mitigation? So I talked a little bit about this, right? Clients. Oh, sorry, did you have some?
I can get it at the end.
Are you sure?
Yeah.
Okay. Legal and regulatory compliance. So lawsuits and settlements, fines and penalties if we're not following all of the laws around employment. And reputable damage, right? Because if you have, we're in public sector, everything we do is in the media. So it's important that we mitigate and manage the risk, right? We see things that are coming and we approach them in the most strategic way and ethical way we can possibly do that and try to minimize, if not eliminate, any possible damages. Consistent policies and documentation. So making sure you're treating everybody fair when you have a policy or you have a documentation process, you are following it for everybody, not just I'm going to implement it for Joe because I don't like Joe, but I'm not going to implement it for Sally, that kind of thing. So that's kind of where I ensure that I, mitigate and manage risk. Policies are applied consistency, employee actions are documented accurately and consistently, and disciplinary processes follow due process. So that's the Loudermill process, right? So you have your verbal reprimand, and then you have maybe a written reprimand, and it keeps going until you get to the Loudermill, and they're entitled to, it's called the Loudermill hearing. So you might be contemplating suspension or dismissal of employment. Well, you have to give them due process. So I ensure that flows in that direction, right? So that when it needs to, we have all of the documentation, we have managed any kind of risk. The workers' compensation, right? Making sure that we are adhering to any restrictions if somebody gets hurt on the job. I'm clear on what those restrictions are. I'm monitoring those restrictions, and I'm monitoring the employee to make sure that they come back 100%. That is managing that kind of risk. If you don't do that, it can be quite expensive. Risk-aware hiring, right? So making sure that your hiring separation practices are ethical and making sure, I don't know if you guys have heard lately a lot of a lot of companies and organizations are using AI and they're screening out candidates that are well qualified for positions and not even allowing them to get an interview. I personally look at each application and we vet them through the department head and make sure that we're not missing anything, right? We're not using a system to go and say, yeah, they don't have this word in their resumes, we're gonna filter them out. So that's kind of been in the recent media that a lot of these companies are doing that. We don't use that. We're still kind of using the old way of doing it, but I feel more confident in that, right? Because we're reviewing everybody. Employee relations and conflict resolution. Again, by addressing issues early before they escalate, HR can reduce the likelihood of grievances, litigations, or disruptive workplace behavior. So that's how I kind of manage the risk for the county in a nutshell. Any questions? It's a lot too. You had a question? Did you want to ask
At
that?
the end of your presentation.
Getting there.
That's okay. I can wait to the end.
Okay. All right, so this is kind of my promise, but to look out for the best interest of the employer and employee while being ethically focused, making decisions. That's kind of the phrase that plays in the back of my mind when I'm making all decisions. Because I want to make ethical decisions that are going to reduce, not eliminate risk. So I got some numbers for you, Tiffany. I got a little pie chart here just to kind of show 2024 and 2025 onboarding alone. So you can see the color coding is a little wonky in these, but you can see it's glaringly clear that our biggest turnover recruitment needs are in the corrections facility. It's not a job for everybody, and we are constantly recruiting for corrections officers. We're hoping that we're going to be fully staffed here pretty quick, and it's been a long road, but hopefully we'll be able to hold on to some really good employees that we've brought on. But this is kind of the glaring the statistics that jump out here in this data is primarily corrections is the highest. Okay, we can go to the next one. Turnover. No surprise, right? Because we have the highest turnover in corrections. I mean, the highest onboarding, we have the highest turnover in corrections department, but this kind of breaks it out by department on where our turnover is happening between 2024 and 2020. Can you read that okay?
In your prior slide,
Yep.
what was the second most
So the second
orange one or yellow or whatever it is?
commissioners.
Commissioners, yeah.
Yep. Yep, it's corrections and then the commissioner's office.
Hmm.
And I'd have to look at all of the information to be able to break it down for you, but I could if you wanted to know, kind of what that looks like specifically. But yeah. All right, turnover explained. So we had 13 employees who left employment with the county in 2024 and 23 that left in 2025. 5 employees retired to date in 2024 and 1 in 2025. 1 employee has relocated out of state. That's why they left. The majority of turnover in both years comes from corrections, as I said. 4 voluntary exit interviews were completed in 2025. So I do offer that when somebody gives notice. I ask for them to meet with me and I will go over a series of questions on how we can improve any of the feedback they give, positive and negative, so that we can try to do something with that. And so what I'll do is I'll collect that information. I won't divulge into who. I mean, it can be obvious if one person gives notice, right? But I'll meet with the department head and say, look, this is some of the feedback that we've received. How can we improve on that? So that's what I do with that when I can collect it. Next. Mandatory trainings, we talked a little bit about that. So there's harassment and anti-bullying, ergonomics, fire safety, hazard material. In addition, facilities actually has to do PPE and bloodborne pathogen training because they have their potential to be exposed. That is done we coordinate that through the jail facility because they have to do that as well. So, but those are the mandatory.
Well, internet security, are you responsible for internet security, or does that come through IT?
Like as far as training?
Right.
That would be IT's responsibility. Yeah. he does some testing that he might have included in his presentation, but he does do some testing that he'll email out some fake spam and see what he gets first. Yeah. And then, Tiffany, was it you that asked about trainings? So we've used a mixed variety of how we've done the trainings. We've done virtual, we've done in person. Trainings are trainings, right? They're not really fun. They're not fun to read. They're not fun to go through. We bring Clint Ross in every year to do our fire extinguisher, which adds a little bit of something to have somebody physically here, but otherwise it's either some virtual program or it's some written materials that they have to. Safety, 2024. County had 1 OSHA report of restricted duty for an injury. In 2025, the county had 5 OSHA reported injuries with a combination of lost time and work restrictions. Departments include the sheriff's office, corrections, and facilities, to give you an idea of what those OSHA recordables are. In 2024, 11 work-related incidents reported. In 2025, there were 10. And in 2025, we had 3 vehicular accident claims. So that's our safety. I think we're getting close to the end. Recognition. So you may know every year we throw an employee appreciation barbecue here. Outside, we serve burgers and recognize our staff for all the hard work that they've been doing. The sheriff presents medals oftentimes or awards. We present years of service. So we recognize milestones, 5, 10, 15, 20, and we present a little certificate. We also do raffles and giveaways. We have every year it's gained more and more traction with this new space. It's been really nice to show appreciation for our employees once a year. This is about our employees. So county has 10 departments, averaging 94 total full-time and part-time employees. There are 3 unions, NCU, which is the jail, the FOP, the sheriff's department, and the Teamsters for dispatch. So they represent roughly 2/3 of the employee base is union. Fun fact, 17 county employees have over 10 years of service, which is important. You know, you don't see that today because a lot of people are jumping jobs. Every couple of years, they're leaving and going somewhere else. So, yeah, is that it? Oh, okay. Barriers to effectiveness. I thought we were close. All right. So, as you know, having a dual role can be a challenge at times because being in human resources and dealing with people and managing people is different than when you are the CEO, essentially. So it's presented some challenges because as an HR person, you should have kind of an unbiased, but then as a manager, it's a little different. So it's been a challenge, but it's not always a challenge. Another challenge, departments have moved towards a more unified team. I feel like we've come a long way in the 4.5 years that I've been here. I have a lot more involvement, whereas when I started with the departments, they weren't sure why I was here and didn't know what to use me for. But now I think it's pretty clear that they can lean on me for a lot of different things. And it's important for them too, so that we ensure that we're using fair practice and things like that. With the new board in 2025, there's been continued challenge around understanding all the functions of HR. Hoping this presentation helps everyone understand all of the functions of HR. It's a very complex position and it's much needed. And I'm very I'm glad that the county decided to go this path, and I hope they continue to have an HR person because it's very important. It's saving a lot and it's ensuring that we're compliant in all the employment laws. So, but hopefully this presentation helps address some of that challenge and understanding my role. Questions? Now you can ask questions.
Yes, next slides gave me a lot of them. They had to do the numbers of onboarding
Okay.
hires. So I got my answers.
Okay, great. Anything else? Sure.
Great job, number one. Thank
And mine
you.
was a little long, but I really felt like I needed to explain.
Yeah, first time for me to actually get into the nuts and bolts of what you do.
Yep.
So is this on-the-job training for you? Did you go to school for this? Did you train somewhere else for this? There's some significant expertise involved in those bullet points
Sure.
and background. So, how did you get it?
Okay, so in 2012, I earned my associate's degree in business. From there, I discovered that I had a passion for HR, and so shortly thereafter, I landed in a position in the HR field. Started to learn from there, and then in 2020, I decided I wanted to pursue my bachelor's with a focus in human resource management. So I did that. Meanwhile, gaining all this experience, right? Doing all this research as things come up, you have to do a lot of research sometimes just to understand the best path forward. So I'm a member of SHRM. I'm a member of the local Central Maine Human Resources chapter so that we can bounce resources off of each other and really help each other. But a lot of it's experience, and I'm also certified in SHRM CPE, so that's helped a lot too. That is quite a stiff requirement in order to do that and maintain that certification. So it's a combination of education and experience that's gotten me here.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Other questions?
Tiffany,
I feel like I stole the.
I think, I'm not sure if the budget committee realizes that Tiffany has tendered her resignation and she will not be with us after Valentine's Day.
Yep.
So I just wanted to make everybody clear. A lot of what she says, it sounded like she was bragging, and she has full right to do that. But she's also trying to set the stage to let everybody know that what her work has done has been very important. Just wanted to point that out.
Will you retire? Are we replacing her?
So I have a question.
Thank you, Commissioner.
You have somehow you got into an assistant county commissioner part-time. When did that happen? Like when Amy's not there?
When I was hired, I was the administrative assistant and HR.
No, when you started this, you said part of some of your time is
Deputy Administrator.
deputy, there it is, deputy administrator.
Yep.
Was that since you started, or did somebody work you into that? Did it just evolve?
So it was a tricky time when I came on. When I came on, we might all recall there was a lot of things going on in the county, and we had staff retiring to the commissioner's office. So I had kind of assumed pretty quickly the role of the county clerk in the interim. But then we filled the position and brought on a county administrator, and that's where it evolved to, Amy feeling like you gotta have a backup to everybody should have a backup, right? What are you gonna do if something happens to you and you're out for any length of time, you're on medical leave or anything like that? So it evolved since I've been here. Does that answer your question?
Yeah.
And, as Commissioner Scosa said, basically, thank you for all your service. Appreciate that, all you have done. I do have one question, and I think it's laudable that you do exit interviews. If I caught it correctly, and I went back through, and I think I did, is that you, over the past couple of years, there were 3 exit interviews out of 27 total employees that left. And you've been able to take what you could out of those, but, in county government, I'm not quite sure that seems like a low number for people that voluntarily would do an exit interview. Do you have any insight into that? Whether, it could be factors of basically it could be anything the employee, left, that day, or it could be involuntary separation where they just don't want to talk. So it just struck me as a low number. So I figured I'd just ask.
Well, turnover is not just people voluntarily leaving. So you look at those numbers, right? It's not just voluntary. It's also maybe they had some misconduct or something. So they were terminated, or maybe they just quit that day and just decided, like, there are people that would just quit and they don't come back. So you have to factor those numbers in as well. Not everybody wants to participate in the exit interview process. I try to encourage it as much as I can. And that's just kind of where I've gotten so far. for a response, because some people are uncomfortable with giving feedback and they just want, just want to leave on a high note or whatever the case may be, and they just don't want to provide that. So I try to provide them a bit of space for that, but if they don't have a good relationship, not a good relationship, if they haven't really had interactions with me, I can see where that could be a barrier, you know what I mean? So if they don't really know me, they might be like, oh, I'm a little guarded here, right? I'm sharing this feedback with a complete stranger if they haven't had many interactions with me. So there's some barrier there, but I try to make it as comfortable for people as I can and provide that opportunity if I know that they're going to give notice or they're giving notice and there's time allowed for that.
Thank you. Yeah, and again, as I said, I may not have said it correctly. It could be that there's a lot of involuntary separations, and at that point there, typically, the exit interviews, if there's a lot of involuntary separations are, not noticed, that there's lots of reasons why. I just figured if you had any insight into them, so thank you.
Yeah. Yep. Sure.
Yeah. Do you have an outline of the cost of onboarding and offboarding to this county? Because that's a lot of numbers. You're talking a third of the people. 25 people was, I think, is the number of 2025 out of 94 full-time people. That's a third of the staff.
Yeah.
Rolling.
I don't have that
There's-
like right now to present to you, but I could probably put some kind of cost to it and figure out what that looks like. It is expensive because you're
Very.
in the system.
From a
you're
budgetary
using time,
standpoint.
it's my time, it's training time, it's department heads' time. So a majority of it is time, but I don't have
An
that.
exit
for you.
interview with you would be quite interesting. Yeah, from a budgetary standpoint, I'm only on the budget committee here, so that's all I care about. But I know bringing on new people and people leaving is very expensive in an institution.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, I could provide that to you, but I don't have it right here. Yeah.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you for the reminder of that. Looking at the time here, I hadn't looked at the time that we've already gone through a couple hours already, so any further questions at this point here? Do we need a comfort break from the committee at all? All right. We'll adjourn 5 minutes here, take a quick 5-minute comfort break for those that need it, and then come back.
I guess you got
We got six more items.
I know.
Well, the sheriff's going to talk, he wants his one.
Alright. So in the interest of time here, there are some items here that we're not gonna get through in the next hour. I should have been a better timekeeper in realizing that we had gone to 5 o'clock. But at this point here, I want to make best use of the time that we have remaining. So are there PowerPoint presentations that, you know, the committee would rather go through some of the PowerPoint presentations and have people here that are here to speak to us, those that aren't here?
When we talk to the sheriff's department, he's got complex budget he's got to talk about.
Very good.
You definitely do the sheriff's department and the jail. So we don't have the DA here today. We don't have the treasurer here today. So I was thinking, in the interest of time, maybe you guys review the presentation. If you have questions about those presentations, we can, you know, send out information to you.
Then we jump to sheriff's.
I think it's a good idea. Let's jump to the sheriff's department and then we'll do jail. They've been very patient listening to 2 hours of things that.
They're on the website.
Without their gossiping with the girls.
Might have that.
We bumped you up saying that you've been very patient, you know, sheriff in the jail, so we want to make sure that, yeah.
Fix my tie then.
All right.
Okay, so the Franklin County Sheriff's Office. It's been a while since I've seen this slide, so I'm gonna be looking at it new like you all. So let's go to the next one. Those two mugs there, me at the top and my chief deputy, we got him on silver alert, so we can keep track of them. This is our new administrative assistant, Catherine Durost, and she's doing a fantastic job. She just started with us about what? 3 months ago?
Yeah, a couple months ago.
Yeah.
Yep.
Doing a great job. This here's the structure within our organization. Of course, me, you get the chief deputy and the major who's in charge of patrol. And down below that, you get the majors in charge of patrol division. Lieutenant St. Laurent here is in charge of CID. And then we had admin staff, which are non-sworn, which is basically Catherine. And below that, you see civil division, but we no longer have an assigned civil deputy these days. We do all the civil processes ourselves. And the idea behind that was to generate more revenue for the sheriff's office. So we actually have money coming back into the coffers as opposed to just paying some guy to go do it. And this has been working out very well for us. I think since Hart got done last year, not that we're taking anything away from Hart, he was our lovely civil division person for years. But since Hart's taken over as our jail administrator, last year, since April, we've been able to bring in around $57,000 of revenue to the sheriff's office. And so that gets distributed, however it gets distributed. But our main reason we wanted to do that to help offset costs regarding patrol, because it costs, we charge out 71, I think it just went up 71 cents a mile for service. And again, there's a formula attached there, how many times they go out to perform the service, to come back. We charge for every time we have to call them on our cell phones. So all this stuff adds up for revenue that goes back to the county. Catherine, our administrative assistant, does most of the processing for that. So it's just a nice way to help offset costs. And so on the budget side, when you look for that, you look for that revenue, and you'll probably see that this year. Next slide. Major Ratcliffe. He's been a patrol administrator, and like I said before, he's in charge of 4 sergeants, 8 or 9. And we've got 9 patrol officers now. And below there's the supervisors, Ryan Close, Brandon Sholin, Austin Kutcher, and Jesse Clement. CID, that's Lieutenant St. Laurent's crew. And over there we have Detective DePaul and Detective Jake Richards. These guys are doing a fantastic job. The amount of work, major crimes work that they are doing within the county is incredible. We have stuff going on that, you would never suspect we would be involved with just 10 years ago. These guys are deeply involved with working gangs in this area. They're watching drug activity at different places. We have a lot of the secret squirrel stuff I can't talk about, but there's a lot of things they're doing to keep tabs on some of the illegal activities that are going on here. And I couldn't be any more proud of this crew for what they're doing. They just did a warrant this morning on a major child porn case. I mean, it's just incredible the amount of work. They're never not busy. They're always doing something. We have a working relationship with the feds. Detective Duvall is actually a, what do you call him?
TFO, the FBI and ATF.
Oh, geez, speak English.
He's a task force officer with the FBI, the ATF, and the US Marshals.
So whenever they have an issue, they'll call David to help them out. And conversely, they help David out with investigations as well that may require something beyond what the state resources can provide. Next slide, please. And these are all our patrol deputies. One thing I'm really happy about is we've got a lot of folks coming on board and staying with us. We've had very low turnover when it comes to patrol, and a lot of these guys have come to us from other agencies, and they came and they took pay cuts to come here. So that says a lot for the organization. It says a lot for their dedication to the job. And they're out there just doing a fantastic job. We're very proud of them. They know the balance between doing their jobs, but at the same time also being a help to the public. Next slide, please. And that's all the ugly ones right there. That was from back in early, that was 2025, I think, wasn't it? Yeah. 23, Nate was still with us at that time. Yeah, Nate Dean next to me there. That's not Nate. That is Nate. Yes. I don't have my glasses on. Yeah. Next slide. Nate's gone, Sergeant Bean. And that picture is Deputy Frost, Sergeant Kutcher, and Deputy Morgan. Keep going. Accomplishments. It's just, I think I've pretty much gone through it. Is we built a cadre of solid law enforcement professionals. What a difference 13 years makes. I started here in 2013, January 1st of 2013. And with the help of Major Bragler, Lieutenant St. Laurent, and of course my chief deputy, we created a team of officers here that are just second to none. We're always out there doing our jobs. We're assisting other agencies, other local law enforcement when needed. We're always out there. We're available when we have to be there. Next slide, please. Corrections. I'm going to let Major Daly talk about that when the time comes. Well, we're going right into it, are we? Okay, well. So what we did back in, I guess you can come on up, but back in April last year, we had to find a new corrections operations major. And fortunately, this young man decided to come forward and volunteer his services. Major Daly came to us from Oxford SO. He was chief deputy over there for how many years? 12 years, forever. Yeah, forever. And he brought a lot of administrative experience with him. And since he's been at the jail, I can't tell you, my phone used to ring all the time. Since he's been there, my phone hasn't rung hardly any. And it's like, woohoo, I like that. It still rings, but at least not from you. So that's a good thing. I'm very happy with what Major Daly is doing over there. Before I shift over to Major Daly, is there any questions about patrol?
So in addition to the team camaraderie that you have, what would you say the factors are that allow you to attract officers from other areas or other departments? What are you, is it benefits? Is it pay? I mean, what is
It's not pay, it's not benefits, it's stability.
Can I answer that?
It's leadership.
It's leadership. It's that man right there.
Okay.
It's that man right there.
We look at our people as family, all right? And we treat them as family. We don't treat them as numbers. We work, the command staff here, including Major Daly, works with our people hand in hand. We're out there in the trenches with them when we need to be. covering accidents with them. Stuff like that seems simple, but to the guys on the road, it means an awful lot. There's a lot of law enforcement executives out there that are just too good to be out there, slinging mud with the rest of them. We don't have that philosophy. Our philosophy is, we'll never put you in a situation we're not willing to put ourselves in. And I think that's the biggest difference that we have here. We're concerned about each and everybody that works here. This same philosophy is also taking root at the jail. The jail is a very difficult place to work, as Major Daly will talk to you about. And a lot of the turnover stuff that you saw in the other slides had to do with the jail. And a lot of times when people show up, as was stated earlier, sometimes people go up and they stay with us for about 2 weeks and this is not for me, and they just say, I'm out of here. A lot of times people show up to do a job. What's that?
Sometimes 2 days. We had one that came.
Yeah.
And said, nope.
And then there's times when people show up and they do things that are contrary to our philosophy or bordering on the moral side, or whatever you want to say, unethical, whatever you want to call it. We had the ability, because they're brand new, they're not union representative, we can just get rid of them within a certain time period without any issues. And it's better to cut bait now than to pay a lot later. Yeah. And so since that's been going on, we have seen an increase in people wanting to come on board. And I think that's due to Major Daly's influence over there. We've got ongoing classes right now this week. So I'm taking your thunder, so I'll let you speak a little bit.
That's great.
Any other questions about patrol?
The only thing I can ask later, but basically I asked the other department has the same type of question. What are the challenges or fiscally or otherwise that the budget committee should be aware of ahead of time?
Well, I'll tell you what. Technology, radios we had to dip into our reserves to replace 12, 13 mobile data terminals. Is that what it was?
We replaced 18 this year.
18.
16.
So since we started, we never had mobile data terminals before 2013. We got them, and the only way we were able to finance them was we were buying them used and refurbished. And we've been doing that right along now for ever since we've been having computers in the cars, and it's worked out fairly well. We're still doing that now, right? We're still buying them.
The 16 that we bought are all brand new.
Oh, so they're new ones now. So apparently they don't last very long, I guess. So they died here and there. Another issue we're having is radios. That's another. The chief's borrowing a radio right now from our technician that we use to do work with. So radios are an issue. The cost of vehicles and the cost of setting them up, my goodness, we can't keep up with it. It's just crazy. Last year we needed 4 vehicles, I think it was. We budgeted for only 3, and we were able to use money out of our vehicle reserve to help pay for the 4th one, so to keep the costs down. But in order to purchase a vehicle, roughly Chief, $58,000 to buy a cruiser.
About 50,000 for a cruiser and 20,000 for a
21,000 to an outfit. In other words, to get it outfitted and set up. And so you're talking $72,000 per car. And we try to maintain a turnover of about 3 per year and keep it at that. But cars, and then the cost of maintenance out there, which we have no control over. You got to maintain your vehicles, and it just keeps going up. Fortunately, we've become flexible, and we try to get the best bang for our buck. We use several different venues out there right now as far as doing our maintenance in order to keep our minor things like oil changes down. I mean, the difference between one garage, which was charging us $145 on average just to do an oil change, and then we have another garage charging us only $90 to do an oil change. I mean, some of these people are just taking advantage. And so we're going to the cheapest one. We're trying to, again, extend our maintenance budget out as far as possible. But yeah, vehicles, anything to do with vehicles, is probably our biggest expense right now.
Yeah, Sheriff, communications, especially up in the unorganized territories, like I camp up near Corbin Gore.
Yeah.
Is it reliable up in that area?
We have one tower up there that we can use. What's that called? Kibbe Mountain.
Like Kibbe.
So it's not necessarily a law enforcement channel, but it's something we piggyback on. We piggyback on also, what other ones? Blue, Mount Blue.
Mount Blue covers a lot of the area. Sugarloaf.
Sugarloaf North is kind of sketchy.
Yeah, there's sometimes we use one channels. And just can't get out.
Yeah, Sugarloaf, no, north is sketchy.
Yeah.
I was just wondering if you had any plans to it needs to be upgraded.
It does, but.
If I'm laying up to hurt, I want someone to come get my gun.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, no, absolutely agree. And if one of our guys need assistance and they can't call.
Yeah.
Another challenge we have is when our guys are going to, even in the towns of Phillips Strong, where they get into a lot of domestic violence issues and stuff, and they need assistance. They wear all these radios, but they don't go very far. And the only way to overcome that is the ability to have repeaters, and that's a huge amount of money. And we're just praying on the good Lord to protect us.
Well, I'm a big advocate of it. So that's what I would like to see. I'd like to see a little bit more on that end. Because it takes one officer down.
Yeah.
Or it takes one civilian that didn't need to be hurt.
Right.
Okay, so I'm a firm believer in that.
And I tell you, another thing that our guys are doing these days too is the mental health issues that we're dealing with out there are unbelievable. I've never seen that in my career. I remember when I first started here, and we started seeing it a little bit, dealing with it once a month or so. These guys are dealing with mental health issues daily, absolutely daily. We just transported a guy down to Togus this week. We also transported another one, the gentleman you were dealing with somewhere. Oh, that was a Togus. There was another one though. We just brought down to St. Mary's.
Right from home to Togus.
Yeah. So we find ourselves transporting people in mental health crisis all over the place. Drug addiction is another issue we're working on, but Art's going to talk to you about drug addiction and what we're doing at the jail to help combat that and hopefully get people off these addicted drugs and reduce recidivism. So yeah, those are some of the challenges. There was another hand up. Yes.
Do you know if they do end up rebuilding the border crossing at Corbin Gore, whether there'll be any enhanced communication capability coming out of that project?
I have not heard a thing.
Not even in the proposal.
And the scary part about that is when you look downrange from that, they're going to increase truck traffic by a certain percent, double.
Yeah.
Already this year, we've been up there every snowstorm, even when it's not snowing down there, it's snowing up there, right? In Cheney Ponds and all those places. Our guys are up there. When a truck's off the road, you're talking hours. That officer is now out of service. That's an ongoing problem. And when they open up that border, it's going to get worse.
See you next time.
Thank you.
Yeah. All right.
Major Daly.
the meeting.
Oh.
Don't leave on my.
I'm sorry.
Be quick, they're going out the door.
Well, we also have a tour coming up, so.
Sorry, I gotta leave.
No worries, I understand. Okay, corrections. We've got a slideshow whenever you're ready to move right on. That's the corrections office vote that I put on there. So, as you know, I'm relatively new. I've been here 9 months. And I'm trying to be extremely proactive, managing the jail. I'm the jail administrator. John Donovan is my assistant jail administrator. He's been here for over 20 years. He's really the boots on the ground inside the facility. Kind of keeping an eye on the staff and bringing back to me concerns and issues that are going on within the facility. And we have, again, we fall under the sheriff. We answer to the sheriff. And everything gets run through him as far as policies, things of that nature. We have myself, again, the jail administrator, but we have Lieutenant Donald. We have an administrative assistant, that's Victoria Parker. And some of these people have dual roles. She is the administrative assistant, but she's also in charge of classifications. She handles all the billing, and she's also a certified corrections officer. So at times she actually steps in and fills a role on the floor to assist with the staff, particularly if we have a female resident that's come in, needs to be searched. They need to be searched by a female, so she's a valuable asset there. We have 4 sergeants. We have under the where you see corrections officers and COSIP officers. We have now, we're getting there. We should have 4 people on each shift. So we have a sergeant and should have 3 corrections officers to assist that sergeant. And they all perform a specific role when they're on duty. Currently, and for many years, I don't know how many years, Sheriff, but for a lot of years, they've been understaffed and they've been running by the skin of their teeth with 3 people on a shift. So if one person called out sick or was on vacation, using earned leave, off at training, whatever, they were down to 2. It's unacceptable to have 2. It's unsafe to have 2. So then they would have to call people in or order people in, and nobody likes to be ordered in. So one of the things I did when I came on was to start aggressively recruiting quality personnel and kind of weeding out some of the personnel that shouldn't have been there in the first place. And it seems to be working out very well. I got to tip my hat to Tiffany because I leaned on her so much that truly it's a miracle she didn't collapse under the weight, because I was constantly bugging her for resumes to put out applications on Indeed, in the Daily Bulldog, on Facebook, we have on the sheriff's website. She's always been approachable to me. Her door is always open. She's always helpful, but her professionalism and her knowledge and her expertise are going to be sadly missed. I'm only thankful that we're almost fully staffed now, thanks to her efforts. We have 5 people going through our 2-week A&B training right now. When those 5 people get through that successfully, they'll be brought into the facility and they'll start on-the-job training. That can last anywhere from 2 weeks, depending on the individual, to 8 weeks, whenever the individual is ready to actually go onto the floor and actually work amongst the residents in that facility. And that happens when all of the sergeants unanimously agree that the individual is ready to go. After that, they stay on the job train. They get off on the job training. They get assigned to a shift with other certified corrections officers, people that have been to the academy and are fully certified until it's their turn to go to the academy, which is 6 weeks. And they have to go to that academy within a 1-year period. So currently, our staffing with these 5, and we have another individual coming on in 2 weeks, which will make 6. That will put us at full staff. It'll give us 4 people on each shift. It will provide our 2 officers that are under the COSIP grant, which is the opioid reentry and programming positions. The only position that we will still be lacking, and it's a difficult position to fill, is the additional transport officer position. We had an individual slated for that position due to unforeseen reasons. He wasn't able to take that position. He's still a corrections officer with us. He's actually at the academy now. He's doing a great job. But we have to fill that position. And the transport officer position is a dual certified position. So they have to be certified as a corrections officer. So they have to go to the 6-week academy for corrections. But then they also have to be certified as a reserve law enforcement officer. So they have to go through the reserve law enforcement officer program. They have to do 80 hours of training with us. They have to do 80 hours of training with the sheriff's office. They've got to jump through a lot more hoops.
Polygraph.
Yeah, polygraph, psychological exams, physical agility testing. So it takes a specific individual to fill that position, because that position is an armed transport position. Let's see. Challenges. We got all kinds of challenges. This was actually written by the sheriff. So these are some of the challenges that were at the facility when he came on and that he worked through. But if you get halfway down that first paragraph in this year, we experienced an unprecedented influx. See, it was lucky me. I came on just the right time, because apparently this had never happened before when we went over capacity in the facility. So we can house 39 residents in that facility, and we were in the mid to upper 40s. So we had to start boarding people out to Somerset County Jail for bed space. At the same time, we were undergoing major renovations within the facility. So when we go on this tour, you're going to see the 3 offices that were created and one of the pods that we had to shut down completely and move those residents to Somerset County. And you're going to see the infirmary that's being built, all of that on grant funding. But the thing that's not covered under the grant funding is the boarding fees to go to Somerset County Jail. And that's where you'll see that almost $67,000 cost for boarding. The jail was constructed in 1983. It does suffer from old age and lack of space. And the problem is with a facility that's built out of concrete and steel, it's very difficult to expand and create space there. But I'll get to show you that when we get over there. I don't want to, reveal the end of the movie and spoil it for you.
One thing for, just want to jump in real quick. You mentioned overcrowding. It was overwhelming for about 4 months this year, 5 months. We've never experienced that before. We usually average, 34 on the high side, 35. We've had months we were averaging 10. But it costs the same to house 10 as it does 39. But this year, and through no fault of ours, it was more backlogs at the court system, games played by people who were going through the criminal justice system. We had this huge influx of people that just could not bail because of the severeness of their crimes. We had to send people to Somerset at $100 a day per person. That was a lot of money. And so one extra line item you request you're probably going to see this year, which is brand new, is a board and fee line item to help pay for that. The only way we were able to pay these bills this year is because we had some leftover money in some of our COSIP program grants and some other areas having to do with the inmates. We were able to pay for those board and fees. We've never have had a line item for board and fees before because we've never needed them. Now it's like, holy cow. We don't want to get caught with our pants down again because we're not going to have that cushion this time. So just an FYI, when you see that, that's what it's all about.
Sheriff, can I ask you a question? Several commissioner meetings ago, you were after a grant to check in for maybe jail consolidation.
Yeah.
And I know that fell through.
Yeah.
Are we still pursuing that?
We're still a go for it. Androscoggin's still a go for it, but Oxford is, I don't know what's going on there.
Okay.
And I think what happened with the commissioners here in Androscoggin, we agreed to the study, feasibility study, but Oxford hasn't. So short answer, no. And so until something changes there, we're just going to go for it in our own timeline.
Good luck. What about the next one, so we can.
Can I,
Question?
quick question, the overboarding that you experienced? Were any of the other, facilities having the same issue?
Yeah.
Everybody was on.
Yeah. All 15 did. And that was the problem, because fortunately for us, we have a phenomenal working relationship with Somerset County. And they kind of put us, at the forefront for boarding out our inmates. However, every day I was receiving emails from the other jail administrators across the state looking for bed space because they were overcrowded as well.
I was wondering if there's any kind of a reciprocal kind of thing within the jail.
There is. We have a reciprocal
Keep the
agreement.
cost off everybody.
Well, what happened, well, not with everybody, but like with Somerset, we do a swap sometimes that no fee to each other, so
Right.
they may have a problem inmate. Or maybe there's some sort of dynamic there where they know a corrections officer are involved somehow with their staff, and so we will hold them for them, and we'll in turn swap somebody with them. So it's just more about one back scratching the other.
Thank you.
So I almost hate to ask this for a budgetary question, but I'm going to ask it anyhow, because I know that all the medical expenses, once you land in jail, I always say that if I ever get cancer and I'm not in, not in employment, that's where I'm going to go get treated, is because that's but for the most part, I can imagine if you've been over that much there, your medical costs are probably through the roof this year, or is that just a wrong assumption?
Well, boy.
Okay.
So far,
Yeah.
we're doing okay, because you have to remember that our medical costs are contracted costs. And we pay monthly, roughly almost $32,000.
That is until they go to the hospital.
Yeah, that's right.
Right.
And once they go to the hospital, it's not just the hospital bed stay, but now we have to budget overtime to have a CO there 24/7. And then there's been times where we've sent people down to Portland to have very strange surgeries done, and they're there for 10 days. And we're paying for surgery.
I won't ask it. It's like saying something is going very well. I won't say that. Won't say anymore. We'll move on from that subject.
We're doing okay. So on the medical aspect of it.
Okay.
Let's see, the first paragraph there talks about the county administrator finding grant funding, which is being utilized to build the expansion to our medical department. The second paragraph talks about grease traps in the kitchen that are 3 years old and are deteriorated to a point that they are leaching into the ground. We have put that out with an RFP for bids. The bids, I think we close on the 30th. Yep. On the bids. So once all the bids are in, whatever they are, we'll look at those bids and select a contractor. But then we run into another logistical nightmare because we have to shut the kitchen down for a month. And we still have to feed our residents. And we batted around a few different ideas. We've got one idea that seems to be the best idea. I didn't know about it, but after some research, we discovered that you can actually rent an industrial kitchen that comes in a mobile trailer. And you have to rent it for a 1 month period. So the kitchen trap estimates, these are ballparks. I have no idea where they're going to come in at really, but I'd say at least $125,000 to replace all of that for a month's worth of demolition and reconstruction and labor. And then if we took all of our residents and we housed them at Somerset County for 30 days, you would be looking at well over $100,000 in boarding fees. So we looked at this trailer, which the kitchen staff looked at with me and said that they could definitely function out of, and a 24-foot industrial kitchen trailer came in at about, I think it was $24,000, right around there, for a month to rent it. So substantially less. And it also keeps our staff employed. We don't have to lay anybody off. And this day and age, especially with the struggles we've had with hiring and retaining people. If you start laying people off, they start not returning. And then we're back to square one where we're understaffed. And so we think that's probably going to be the best option when the time comes. And we have to coordinate that with whoever the construction company is that we accept the bid from, and then coordinate that with getting the trailer here for a project start date. So we'll keep you posted.
So you want to talk about coordination, that's help from EMA, right? The
No.
trailer?
No.
Oh, okay, I thought
No,
we got that.
no, actually, it was news to them too, so.
Oh, okay.
And they actually were glad that we found out that information, so.
Yeah.
Because they had never heard of such a thing, so. It's from, there's several different companies that do it throughout the country, actually. And the company that provided us the lowest monthly bid amount was out of New Jersey, so that's what we're exploring. This was from last year's slide regarding state funding for county jails. That's never enough. And as you can read, I didn't do this slide, so again, unpredictable medical events, what we talked about, can certainly skyrocket if you have one person that goes in for open heart surgery or something along those lines. Your budget's busted in regards to what the state provides and your medical expenses. I echo that statement at the bottom where it says, I always appreciate the commissioner's assistance and expertise regarding this issue. I've only been here 9 months working with the commissioners. I've seen them and I know them, but working with them budgetarily and departmentally, and they've been excellent to work with. So I would echo that last paragraph there.
Amen.
Yeah. And that's just a pie of what the expenditures are and what the state provides. So you can jump to the next one. Let's see. Top paragraph is about manpower and what a challenge it's been, both mentally and physically, recruiting people. My staff has been working just relentless overtime. But because we now have all these new hires coming through, there is some light at the end of this tunnel. And we're hoping by the first or second week of March that they'll all be through the training, that we'll be fully staffed, that the overtime will start reducing, that the staff will actually be able to work their regular 12-hour shifts and enjoy their days off that they're supposed to have. So I'm really, really looking forward to that, because I can't say enough good things about how dedicated the staff has been and the hours that they put in, even when they were mandated in their attitudes, the morale. They've been doing really well maintaining that as well. So let's see, I talked about that, about having 4 people on a shift. The last one, myself, again, with Tiffany's help, we really aggressively started recruiting people. I don't know how many resumes and interviews we've conducted, but it's been a lot. And it was a little bit of a revolving door, but we are breaking away from that, the previous mentality of corrections as being just hire a warm body. We want professional people. We want people that are going to stay here. And one of the things that I'm stressing on my staff is professionalism, and that this is not just a job, that it is a career field for them to enter into, and that they can expand in that career field and end up having my job someday, hopefully. So we've attended job fairs. You look at the very bottom part, there was never even, they would go to a job fair with a table with nothing on it, blank piece of paper, basically. So we're looking into purchasing like some tablecloths, some banners, like a pull-up banner that you see out here in the foyer, pens with our logo on it, just simple stuff that people just draws their attention to your table. You can start talking to them, start that dialect, and work on hiring those individuals. But and we're going to keep doing that. But I also am increasing the training at the facility, because one of my mottos is, if you want to retain, you have to train. Because if people are stagnant in their jobs and they feel worthless in their jobs, you're going to lose them. Enhancing that they are important, giving them career opportunities, whether it be becoming a certified instructor in a multitude of fields that they can select from, giving them added responsibilities, acknowledging them. Tiffany's been great about that, the sheriff too, doing award ceremonies and just employee recognition. I feel like for a long time, maybe the staff at the jail was almost forgotten about, and that was one of the big issues. Another thing we did when I came in was we sent out an anonymous survey to the staff when I first started, asking them what their concerns were and why people were unhappy working there. And we got a lot of feedback back, and a lot of those issues that were on those anonymous surveys have already been addressed. So we're going to do another one and send it out and kind of see where we're at, and that we're making some headway. So next slide. Yes, we are. Hopefully we won't be pretty quick. Next one. That was just a recruitment brochure that we stuck them out here at the window here in front of Kat's office. Passed them out at the fair there when we did that career fair over at the Farmington Fairground. That's Oxford County coming up. The Farmington Fairgrounds. And just stuff that people can read. And actually one of my sergeants, Brooklyn Brown, she's amazing at doing this type of thing. She put a little QR code on there that you could go on to and see the county website. So next slide. Let's see, things that you'll see when we go for the tour. You'll see that have any of you been in the jail previously?
Professionally?
As part of
That's available.
the budget committee, yes. As part of the budget committee, I have been, yeah.
So if you've been in there and you've seen it, it's going to look quite a bit different right now, and it's going to look even more different in the coming couple of years. So the carpeting in the library, the carpeting in the administrative offices, the maintenance office, and the entryway from our Sallyport area has all been ripped out. It was old red, brown carpet.
Building, right?
Huh? It came with a building. It was just a mixture of concrete and carpet and whatever. And there was stuff underneath it that I don't want to talk about. But anyway, we at no cost to the taxpayers, we were able to replace all that. And looks very nice. Again, Sergeant Brown, as well as soliciting some assistance from our residents over there, tore all the old book shelving down, repainted the walls. We bought new tables, new chairs, got rid of the old antiquated metal falling apart tables and chairs. And you could actually hold a press conference in there right now if you wanted to, and feel proud about doing it. We took all the shelving off and bought new book carts that we can actually wheel down through the hallways to the different pods, and we can have the residents sign the books out, sign them out, sign them in, track of them, hold them accountable if they damage them, things of that nature. Anyway, that's what's going on in the library in that area. The second paragraph is the new offices created through the COSIP grant. Those officers, one is designated specific to the program and re-entry coordinator. She's in there Monday through Friday, 8 to 4. And the other two are more like a multi-purpose office. They will be utilized by the two COs who will be assisting the program coordinator. Because as you know, this is all about rehabilitating the people that we have over there and making it so they can successfully re-enter into the community. And it's amazing what's happening between, and we won't get into it right now probably with the Rixati shots and all of that stuff. But basically we are creating at the forefront of a program that's so beneficial for these individuals that are at the jail. They're being set up with jobs as they leave. We've had 2 or 3 graduate through our educational program now. We gave them a graduation, we gave them a cap and a gown, took pictures, and so they got their high set like a GED. We've connected them with outside resources for housing. for, cell phones, finding it, just try to set them up financially if we can, bus passes, setting them up with outside mental health counseling, substance abuse counseling. And we have these individuals that are coming in and volunteering their time to provide programs inside the facility. And it's been quite a change, really. So anyway, those offices will be utilized for that, but they'll also be utilized for a quiet environment. If our mental health counselor wants to go in and sit down with one of the residents having a problem, they can bring them out of the pod area. They don't have to sit out in the intake area where people are mulling around. They're in a quiet, private environment. There are cameras in there, but they're not. There's no audio. Attorneys can come in there. Professional visits can occur in those offices, so you'll get to see those too. The medical wing's being expanded. We're gonna try to find some creative ways to find a little bit more money, and you'll see it's called P10. When we walk to the medical infirmary area, the office as you're going in is gonna need to be have the carpet torn up, and it's gonna need to be painted. And myself and my maintenance guy and my lieutenant are gonna build a wall there to section off one section of office space for the court for pre-trial. So we're trying to save money wherever we can by doing the work ourselves on some of these, changes that are going to be taking place. Next slide. P10, that's what I was just talking about, those revisions. The facility revisions and upgrades, where it says currently we must restrict mandatory recreation time. My wish list is to eventually have a roof built over our rec yard. Right now, there's no roof over the rec yard. So during inclement weather, could be pouring rain, could be snowing out, whatever, they don't get to go out for rec because there's no place to take them. And that's a terrible thing because they, by DOC standards, weather permitting, they provided 5 hours of recreation a week. And when you start cutting into that, if we get a week of storms, that's a week that they're stuck inside with no recreation, and that's not good for their mental health. It's unsafe because they start getting agitated. It's unsafe for my staff because they're getting agitated, understandably so. So that's down the road, but it's something I'm thinking about. On your right hand side, the last one where it says body scan unit, if you guys can even read that from there, I don't know, but okay. So body scan unit, we are in desperate need of a body scan unit to assist in searching inmates who are hiding drugs, contraband, weapons, etc., inside their bodies, or under clothing in some circumstances. Every crime that involves a weapons offense, a drug offense, drug trafficking offense, a violent offense, that individual should be strip searched. However, we have a problem where a male corrections officer cannot, under any circumstances, strip search a female resident coming through. They shouldn't even be patting them down, really. Ideally, they should have a female corrections officer. We're working on that because we have a couple now that we are hired, which is great. However, more often than not, if somebody's bringing drugs into the facility, they're going to bring them inside their body. And there is no way for us to determine that other than through a body scan unit. Currently, what happens is whenever we suspect something like that, somebody may indicate to us that they've injected drugs or that they've, put them somewhere. The only way that we can truly find out is by calling another officer in, packaging that person up, and driving them over to Somerset County where they have a body scan unit. And we put them through that body scan unit. We've had instances where people have come in, we haven't had the availability, we haven't had the staffing, and the individual didn't go through a body scan unit and introduced drugs into the facility. Fortunately, we have not had a major incident. I mean, I say major incident because the individual bringing me in was the only one using the drug. but it would only take one individual coming into the facility with fentanyl and then diverting it to 2 or 3 other inmates. And then you have 4 or 5 inmates overdosing in the facility. And then you have a multi-million-dollar problem.
This is just to give you an idea of what's going on, the mindset. You get people who are sentenced, they know they're coming in for 8, 9 months, whatever, 6 months. They pack this stuff internally, express purpose of dealing once they're inside.
For favors, for commissary.
We've actually
Whatever.
caught prisoners snorting lines in their jail cells.
Yep. I just had to ban coffee. This is how desperate sometimes things can be because they were snorting coffee, which is very dangerous. Can cause seizures, can cause cardiac arrest. And it was becoming a problem. So we deemed it contraband and we banned it. But the amount of money, I would say conservatively, 20 to 30 times a year, we're taking people over to Somerset County Jail. 2 officers called in for 4 hours of overtime, transporting them. You have liability involving allegations of sexual assault during these transports. You have the risk of accidents during these transports. You have the cost of overtime during these transports. And that body scan unit, which I would put in P10 because we have space, would cost roughly $20,400, $450. Far less than what it costs us to transport these individuals to Somerset County, and far less than one lawsuit involved with somebody bringing drugs into the facility. It's a minuscule amount in my budget, but it's something that they've never had and they really desperately need to have. So that now what would happen, somebody comes in with a drug charge and they're uncooperative, they're combative, we're having trouble getting them down even to a strip search. We can bring them out to the body scan unit, place them in that, scan them. It's just like, well, go to the next slide. I think I have it. There you go. That's body scan unit. And that's the size of it. That would fit in P10. You bring them in, you have them stand there. If they're in handcuffs, they don't have to, it's not like TSA where you have to have your hands up, and all that good stuff. They can go in and just stand there with handcuffs on, even in full restraints. And you're going to see everything on their body, under their clothing, and inside their body, inside there, if they have it in there. And then if that's the case, then there's other measures we do, dry cells and things of that nature. So anyway, next slide. That's just through MetroSense. That's one of the quotes I got. It was the best quote I got out of 5. That's P10. You're going to get to see that. It actually looks a little bit better because the plastic's down now and it's a little more organized. But that's the entryway into the infirmary. And that's where I would put that body scan unit. The wall that I talked about building is going to be back where that light you see is. There'll be a wall dividing that office space. And then my compliance officer would also have an office space out there. He handles training coordination and DOC compliance, mandatory compliance stuff. So those are, I don't want to see those. Go through. Go through. Go through. Yeah, that's a surprise. I don't want to ruin the whole one, because if you're going to come over and see it, you'll get to see it in real life. That's it. That's my slideshow anyway. So.
Yeah. Any new unfunded mandates come through this year?
Not yet.
Nothing yet.
Not yet.
But the legislative session's not over.
Right.
True. I'm just checking from leftover last year, I guess you could say.
Yeah.
I saw on the slides here you went back from 2008. You were referring to staffing and stuff. Do you have head counts from where it's been for that long, as head counts have grown year over year or decreased year over year, that we could have access to?
As far as you want a monthly head count?
No,
or
yearly.
Oh,
Budget yearly.
do you mean staffing or do you mean the residents that are there?
No, staffing. I'm on the budget committee. I don't care who's over there.
Okay. All right. So staffing wise,
It
I
looks
can't
like you
speak
had
to.
stuff in there since back to 2008, which you had some,
I can't.
even if it's only a 5-year back.
Yeah, I can only tell you that right now, our staffing stands at 28. uniformed corrections officers, and that includes 3 that are part-timers. One of them being my compliance officer and training coordinator. One of them who's filling a ton of shifts right now, and I'm hoping to.
That's for this year, right now.
Yep, and so I have 26 full-time uniformed and 3 part-time uniformed and 3 kitchen staff.
However, a couple of those,
And then you have 3 that are under the grant.
that's right.
Yeah.
3 of them.
3 under the COSA.
Full-time.
Yeah, that's
So you-
paid fully by the cost of grant, so.
You really have 23 full-time, 3 part-time, 3 kitchens.
Yes.
And then the structure you had there was 14 people were listed there between the sheriff all the way down. Are those including in the 23? For one of the first slide, there you go.
Yeah, because you can't see it, but it says where it says like corrections
I
officers.
could, right. So if I go sergeants, how many sergeants are there?
4.
Oh, so there's more than 14. Altogether, there's the
Yeah.
totals.
Yeah.
Okay. But
Yeah, those aren't individuals.
the jail has not changed in its size, right, since 1983?
Right,
Still 39 inmates
yeah,
holds.
that's what we're
I
licensed.
know there's technology increases, I know there's federal mandates, I know the state mandates, I know all that kind of stuff going. But I'm just trying to get a picture of what's been going from a staff standpoint, from a budget standpoint. Did you have 20 10 years ago and you have 28 now? You know, what changed? They'll probably have titles that will help me understand that.
Just to give you a little bit of background, before 2008, when the jail was still full-time, at 2008, the jail was shut down to a 72-hour facility, if you remember that.
I don't, I didn't live
Okay.
here and I've never
So-
paid attention to jail. okay?
Prior to 2008, we ran 4 people per shift on the
I
floor.
saw that.
And that was the mostly mandatory minimum to be safe and conduct business on the floor. 1 sergeant and 3 COs per shift, 4 different shifts. In 2008, we lost the jail. It was transformed into a 72-hour facility. That dropped it down to basically just 2 people working per shift, an intake officer and a supervisor, to just basically transition people through. That lasted until 2015, when all the money just basically fell through the floor and the state came to us and said, take the jail back, please. And so in order to do it, and in order to do it as close to the budget that we were held at for that 10 years, we were frozen at 1.6, almost 1.7 million a year. In order to bring it back at that number, we had to bring back jail staff to just 3 per shift in order to make it work close to those numbers. And that was at wages back then too. But that was so dangerous for our staff because now we're having 3 people and we've had that right up until 2025.
I'll give you an example. I just had an officer assaulted last
severely
week and a half ago.
Yeah.
We had a violent individual there, and had we had 4 people on staff, you would have had 3 corrections officers trying to control this individual. We only had 2, and the individual was able to break free from them and begin punching one of my sergeants in the head. One of the only reasons that he was actually controlled and didn't inflict more harm was because one of the fire marshals happened to be there investigating a case and came out and jumped on top of this person as well. And that was it. That was enough to get him under control and get him restrained in handcuffs and ankle shackles. And had he not been there, that would have been a much, much worse situation. And that's just one example, and it just happened. So.
And we lost a supervisor 3 years ago when he was so badly assaulted that he just basically gave up after 20 plus years as a corrections officer.
I'm not,
Yeah.
I don't want anybody's safety to be here. I'm not even, I'm the budget committee.
Yeah.
I'm not getting in that deep.
I'm just telling the challenges that we're
Right,
dealing
I
with.
understand. I'm just
That's all.
trying to get a feeling of what's been transpiring so I can get a picture.
Yeah, sure.
Because I've actually been doing some research on other jails and what they're doing and what their budgets are, you know, what their staffing is, that kind of thing, to try to make some good decisions here.
Yeah. We're doing an awful lot for a small facility. We, as one of the smallest jails, the only one smaller than us is Scaddaquist. But for what we have and the services that we are providing, we are punching way above our weight for the money that we have invested. Way above.
So is understaffing one of the reasons for turnover?
Yes.
That's a
Definitely.
prime motivator for a lot
Yeah,
of
because they're working back to back to back 18-hour shifts. They're
Yeah.
sleeping at the facility on, like the other day when we had.
And
the
that's
storm.
not safe.
No, it's not.
They're exhausted.
Yeah, and that's the problem. They literally are exhausted. And that's why I'm so hopeful that this next group that comes through within a 4-week time frame will be on the floor and assisting them so that they can work 12-hour shifts and actually have days off.
Well, Major Daly, I will say that's very, very informative, what you provided. I mean, extremely, kudos to you and your staff and everything you do. There are certain jobs out there that even if I wanted to, I know I couldn't be a corrections officer. I couldn't be an EMT. I couldn't be a police officer. Too much trauma for me. So kudos to all of you. I want to be cognizant of the time as well here.
Say something about 2008, 2015. Some of the these guys kept that place together.
Oh, God, yes.
Other places, other counties just say, well, we're 72-hour waiting for it. We don't care. And they kept all their licenses viable. They kept everything. The jail was ready to go, hoping that we were going to get permission to go back. Stop dragging me down to one of the committee meetings that they were having. It was horrendous. They had no idea what they were doing, but they kept that place operating. And when we got to open back up again, we didn't have to worry. We were able to do it. So I always admired you guys for accomplishing that. I'm going to say that publicly. I do have one quick question. One of the things when you talked about the committee, the 3 counties, Ryan mentioned another possible alternative of pods. Is that something that the budget committee, and we should be thinking about some money into that to look at that situation? Or is that just something, I mean, there was an alternative. There is a company that makes pods.
Yeah, that's the reason I brought that up, Sheriff, because you mentioned it was a modular pod thing.
Yeah.
That's something we maybe should look at.
It's a possibility if this other thing goes belly up.
Yeah.
We wouldn't need anything very big. I mean, we're talking about medium would probably be the biggest need, a medium facility, a medium classification medium pod.
I would, in a perfect world, I would take the rec yard, build on top of the rec yard and move the rec yard over behind the old sheriff's office.
Yeah.
And bring those pods in and create a 20 to 24 person area where the rec yard is right now. So you have a hallway already existing. You can walk straight into that pod, and then off of that pod, you could walk to the rec yard. They could stack them up. There's already concrete there, and they could probably do it there.
No, this is something I thought we need to consider. I don't know. I mean, we're working with a 22-year-old building, 42-year-old building.
Better than building an addition to it. That's for
Yeah.
sure. This thing, this pimple we got out here that costs us almost $1 million. I mean, this is crazy.
But some I'd like to be considered like that in the communications.
Yeah.
Sorry, I got to take a rain check.
Listen, I would offer to you guys because
I was going to say.
Well, we can
Set up
do a
another
tour.
time.
anytime you want. You don't have to.
We got a selectman meeting in this 10 minutes.
Listen, no, I don't want you to think, it's no inconvenience to me because we're open 24 hours.
Right.
7 days.
So
Right.
I would like to go on the tour. I just can't. didn't have
I will go in the
schedule.
tour system here. Absolutely, I'll go in the tour.
You can go individually if you'd like.
Was that the last one for tonight? Was that-
So last thing that I do have to say is, I know that we didn't get to the salary structure, so I'm hoping that the commissioners, if it's discussed, will invite us to, we've taken up a lot of time. It's been a great presentation.
Really good.
And, I know the majority of the committee here, I speak when we get to the salary structure. So if you are going to have it at another point, I will try and take time on my.
We can reschedule.
Thank you. I appreciate that. That way there.
Be late, and we could easily sit here another 2 hours and go over the conference.
Right. I don't want to rush that. All right.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you all very much. Good luck, Tiff.
Thank
Yes,
you.
we're adjourned.
Yeah.
Well, there's only three of us here.
There's nothing we can vote on this.
Hey, vote on it.